G'day, sports fans. Welcome to Ruin Hammer Season 2, Episode 48. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Hey, mate, how you going? How was your weekend, the start of your week?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Back into full swing of work now, so that's good. I'm feeling like I've rediscovered society, which is nice. Been good, mate. How about yourself?
Yeah, real good. Thanks, mate. Long weekend up here in Brisbane. We had our Ekka holiday on the Friday.
Oh, yeah.
So got out and about with the family, went to swimming pool, did a bit of Halloween stuff with the kids on Sunday, and then played a bit of touch footy on Monday. So it's been a good start to the week.
Oh, that's good,
I must say. But tonight is one of those shows that we absolutely love doing, and it's chatting with a former Warrior.
Yes, mate. We do love doing these shows. Why don't you add him to the chat, and I'll introduce him. Tonight's guest played 229 NRL games over 14 seasons at the Broncos, the Warriors, and the Cowboys, with 48 of those in beautiful Warriors colours from 2008 to 2010. He scored 81 career tries, played 24 Origins for Queensland, 7 Tests for Australia. It's an honour to welcome Warrior 137 Brent Tate. Hey, Tatey, how are you, mate?
Hello, boys. How are we?
Good.
Doing really well, thanks.
Good.
We're excited to have a chat. We'll wind it all the way back to the start of your career. Can you take us back to the very beginning and tell us where you grew up and who was your junior club?
Yep, no worries. So I was born in Roma, which is a little country town about 6 hours southwest of Brisbane. We lived in Roma until I was about 6. Then we moved to Toowoomba, actually, for a couple of years. And I actually kicked off my junior career at the Newtown Lions, where my brother-in-law, Pricey, another former Warrior legend, kicked off. I played a lot of his career, junior career. And then, but, mate, I moved pretty early from Toowoomba and moved to Redcliffe when I was about 8 and played all my juniors at the Redcliffe Dolphins, who have just been introduced as a 17th team, which I'm pretty excited about, to be honest, boys. It's been a long time coming, and so that's where it all sort of kicked off. But Redcliffe's, where I've played a lot of my footy.
Yeah, I was going to say you're a Redcliffe junior, and coming into the NRL, that's kind of a bizarre thing, in that to play for a junior club, and then they're now going to be an NRL franchise. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's an awesome journey for Redcliffe, because even when I was a young kid playing at Redcliffe, it was talked about as a junior. And sorry, my little daughter just ran past. It was literally talked about as 30 odd years ago when I was a junior. So it's been a really long journey for Redcliffe to get into the NRL, and they've always had their eye on becoming an NRL club. So for it to finally happen, and for all that sort of hard work to pay off, but I'm really excited, because I know how much Redcliffe meant to me as a young kid. Like, you used to go to the Dolphins, at halftime watching the Queensland Cup. You'd go out in the footy field and kick the footy around, and Saturday and Sundays was spent at Dolphin Oval. So for a young kid now to be able to do that, play all his juniors, play Queensland Cup, play NRL for the Dolphins, mate, that is, for me, it just brings a smile to my face, because it just it's an absolute dream as a young kid living in Redcliffe playing footy. It'd be awesome.
Can I just put you on the spot quickly then? So you played quite a few years at the Broncos. You played at the Warriors. You played at the Cowboys. You now live up at Townsville. Are you going to be a Redcliffe or a Dolphins fan when they come in, or is your agent somewhere else?
Oh, it's a really tough question. I'll go back a little bit. People always say to me, "You played at 3 clubs, and who's your favourite?" And I can honestly say each individual club has left a real mark on my life and my career. And I won a comp at the Broncos, so it's the most professional club I ever played for. And when you win a competition or a premiership at a club, I personally feel like you leave a piece of your soul there. Yep. So that's how I feel about Brisbane. The Warriors, I've never, ever felt part of a brotherhood more than I did at the Warriors, and I absolutely loved the culture and loved being a part of that real tight-knit brotherhood crew. And that's what I loved about the Warriors. And then the Cowboys, I've never ever felt part of a community until I moved to Townsville, and being a sort of big country town, I really got a sense of what it meant to be part of a community. So each individual club has played a real part in my career. But going forward, I did say to my son the other day, he has a big decision to make, because I said, mate, I think I might have to become a Dolphins fan through and through. And I told him that he doesn't have to make a decision now. He can sleep on it. But I said, mate, I need to know, because I'm going to go and buy the Dolphins cap. So, mate, it's you're either in or you're out. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough one for the family.
Yeah. Nice. Day one supporters, how can you turn that down? Well, speaking of the Dolphins, again, you came through their elite academies, and from there you signed a scholarship with the Crushers. Wow, what could have been there?
Yeah, I did actually. Well, Paul Bunn, who's actually at the Storm now, and has recruited. He's a bit of a guru, Bunny, and a big part of the success at the Storm has been partly to Paul Bunn. He was actually at the Crushers, and he was at Redcliffe, and he went to the Crushers. So he signed me as a, on a scholarship, mate. I would have been sort of 13, 14, I think, when the Crushers were around. And then when the Crushers folded, he went over to the Broncos and obviously brought all the kids from Redcliffe that would sign with the Crushers over to the Broncos. So got a lot to thank Bunny for, because he was the one who sort of got us over there. And it's funny, I did sign a scholarship with the Crushers, but I always loved the Broncos growing up. Like, it was always a real dream of mine to play for the Broncos. My dad took me to Lang Park when I was a young kid, really early on when I was a little tacker. And again, that just left a huge mark on me as a person and what I wanted to do. So, yeah, mate, it was a bit of a ride, but over to the Broncos. I finished school, so played all my juniors at Redcliffe. I actually played Queensland Cup at the age of 17 at Redcliffe. Never forget my debut game. Very first tackle, smashed my nose all over my face. It was a bloody nightmare. But so I finished when I was 17, and then, when I turned 18 and left school, went over to the Broncos and started there full-time. I think I signed my first contract with the Bronx when I was about 15 or 16. You're old enough to sign a contract, and I signed that for a couple of years, and then then off to the big time at the Broncos. And it was a bit of an eye-opener when I got there. I went from being, I don't like sort of saying this, but I mean, you sort of leave Redcliffe where you're a bit of a name, and you're playing well, and you go to Brisbane, and mate, you sort of start in the bottom of the barrel again. And I really struggled with that for a little while until I found my feet.
So did you play for the Clydesdales as well?
Go on, mate.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so when I left Redcliffe, then I went and when I went to Brisbane, the Bronx, they had their reserve grade was a Toowoomba Clydesdales. We made the premiership one. He got beaten by Redcliffe actually at Suncorp, and then the next year we beat Redcliffe at in the final. So got really fond memories of playing at the Clydesdales, because we played in the day too when I first come through, where you could sort of get away with a fair bit of stuff too. I mean, it was really professional, but it's not like it is today. So we'd all pile into the bloody minivan. We'd speed down to Toowoomba. We'd train in Toowoomba. We'd drive down the bottom of the range. We'd stop at Withcott, grab a carton, drive all the way back, and then get back in on a Wednesday night and straight into town. So it was, just some really fun times. And, a lot of our bonding was done, in those bus rides but to and from Toowoomba, but just, mate, some really good fun. Sean Berrigan used to drive, and it was bloody, mate, it was frightening what he used to do in that minivan. But, good times, like just really fun times.
Mate, what are your first memories of being at that NRL powerhouse that is the Broncos? It would have been daunting.
Mate, it really was, because there's a lot of big names there. Guys like, Andrew G, Lockyer, Petro, Gordon Tallis, Wendell Saylor, Lottie Dikiri. So it was really, really daunting. It's funny, mate. When I went there and I started a traineeship at the Brisbane Broncos Leagues Club, doing a traineeship in hospitality. So, as you do, you'd sort of work in the pokies, in the cafe, behind the bar at the TAB, all that sort of stuff. And that year that I left school and was playing at Brisbane, mate, I was really, really struggling. All I ever wanted to do was play footy. I hated working, and I was really, really struggling with it. And my footy was really suffering that year. And I'll never ever forget this. Just stands out in my mind so much, mate. I was playing that bad. I think the Broncos were actually thinking about sending me back to Redcliffe because I was struggling that bad. Anyway, I remember Wayne had organised to meet me. Anyway, I'd never really met Wayne before. I mean, I'd seen him around. He'd never sort of said anything, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to sit down with Wayne. He's going to talk to me all about footy. Anyway, we sat down, and mate, all Wayne asked me about was my life away from footy. We never once talked about footy. All he was interested in was what was going on with home life. And Wayne's got this wonderful ability to be able to get information out of you, or almost feel like you're the only person in the world when he's talking to you. So, mate, I remember sitting down talking to Wayne saying, I want to play first grade. That's all I want to do. I hate my job, Wayne. I hate getting up early. I'm really struggling. And he started asking me questions like, well, mate, what do you have a routine at home? And I was like, well, I didn't even know what routine was. Like, he goes, well, what time do you go to bed every night? And I was like, oh, just whenever I want. He goes, what time do you get up in the morning? I was like, oh, like I've got to get up early because I've got to get to work. But, if I'm not doing that, just whenever. He said, do you help your mum around the house with chores? And I was like, no, mum does everything. And he's like, so he's asking me all these questions. And I was like, I'm sitting there thinking, what the fuck has this got to do with me playing footy? And I remember him sitting there and he said to me, Tatey, until you put some structure, some discipline and routine around what you're doing at home and change your attitude toward work, you're never, ever going to be the rugby league player you want to be. And I was sort of sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, I don't ever claim to be the smartest tool, sharpest tool in the shed, mate, but I was smart enough to take his advice. So, mate, I really worked hard on doing things like going to bed at the same time every night, getting up at the same time every morning. Wayne was adamant that if I did stuff at home that I hated doing, like little chores around the house, that would help me at training. I wouldn't miss a line at training, or if I was asked to do something in the game, I'd have the discipline to do it because, you do those things at home every day that become just natural habit. Mate, I started, he talked to me about my diet and even my hydration, all those little simple things that I didn't know, but I started to do all those things. And, that next year, I was 19. I played 3 games of NRL, and the year after, mate, I started the year in first grade and I never ever went back. But I just think back to that meeting with Wayne. If I hadn't had that and he hadn't have talked to me about, structure, the discipline, the routine around what I was doing at home, mate, I never ever would have had the career. And so I was pretty lucky that happened really early on. And, mate, after that meeting, my sort of career just went from strength to strength. And the other thing I did was I worked really hard on finishing the traineeship. Wayne was adamant that, again, having the discipline to go and finish that would teach me more lessons than any football. I remember him saying that to me. So, mate, I ripped in, got it done, and the next year I was, training with first grade full time, and away I went.
Yeah, words of wisdom from the super coach. That was going to be my next question because Wayne Bennett's always been a bit of a conundrum, with the media and everything like that. But those who are close to him and have played under him, they always have a very special relationship with him. And so that was your first impression of Wayne Bennett, I guess.
Yeah, mate, I can't ever speak highly enough of Wayne. Even still today, I'll still call Wayne up for different things, and he always rings me back if I don't get him. And, mate, I'd be one of hundreds and hundreds of players that call Wayne. So you can imagine how many players call him. So, mate, the way I explain Wayne, mate, and people go, what makes Wayne so great? I just think Wayne gives you his time. He just gets to know you as a person. And I think, that in itself makes players want to play for him and go to the end of the earth. And it's not rocket science what he does. He just takes the time to get to know his players. He gets to know what makes them tick. He gets to know them in depth away from the footy field. And I always say to people, Wayne's technically not the greatest coach that I've had, but, mate, from a man management point of view, that there's none better. And, mate, he's a wise old man, Wayne. He's always got an answer for something. I guess that, that comes from 70 years of experience and being in the game for as long as he has. But, mate, I just think he's a really wonderful man. And for me to have him really early on in my career to teach me those things and the life lessons I've learned from Wayne early on in my career, I literally still use today in my everyday life. So, mate, I was super lucky to have him as a young kid. I definitely wouldn't have had the career I had without having Wayne's guidance for sure.
Wow. Awesome. Mate, you mentioned it before. You make your debut for the Broncos in the round 21 loss to Melbourne in 2001. What do you remember about being named to make your debut, and what are your memories of the actual game?
To be honest, I can't really remember getting named, but I remember the game really vividly. It was at Etihad Stadium, so it was in the enclosed stadium down in Melbourne. And mate, I've never heard or been a part of anything like that. And I hate saying this now because the world's changed so much. But when I got home, I said to Mum, it was like a bomb had gone off, Mum, and people were just screaming. And it was just pandemonium. I said, that's just what it felt like. And I've never been there. But just that's the way I explained it to Mum. Like, it was just so fast, so much noise. And mate, I defended outside Kevy in that game, Kevy Walters. And Kevy was the world's worst defender. And I remember Kevy sort of shooting off the line in past the posts. And I missed a tackle because I didn't follow him in, because what he did was just so ridiculous. We laugh about it all the time now. And Matty Orford, who was the smallest bloke on the field, pretty much bumped me, ran over, and they scored in the corner. And but mate, it was such an awesome feeling. Like, it was like a drug day. Like, you sort of got a taste of it. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm never ever going to get used to that speed or that. Like, I just thought, there's just no way I could compete at that level. Like, it was nuts. But I played another couple of games after that and sort of found my feet each sort of game. And then, mate, I had a really big preseason after those 3 games in 2001, I think it was. Yep. Yeah, I played 3 games in 2001, and I made a real point of having a really big preseason. Like, it was my first, pretty much, I was in the full-time squad, like proper. And I made a real point of just thinking, right, I'm just going to rip in this preseason. I put on like 6 kilos, was still sort of really fit, just trained really hard, and it really set me up to have a big 2000. And I started the season in 2002. Sorry, I started on the wing because Chris Walker was meant to start, but Walks had played up in the preseason. He got sort of suspended for a week or two. So God, he's a good man, Walks, but God, he was loose back then. And then, yeah, mate, I just sort of started there, and that's where it all sort of went. I do remember, mate, I was about 5 or 6 games in, and I started on the wing, and then Chris came back, and I sort of went back to the bench. And we played a game at QE2, and I sat on the bench for probably, I don't know, it might have been like 65 minutes or something. Anyway, I went on, and Craig Bellamy was our head trainer at the time, and he was so good. Even back then, he was a genius, mate. And I remember we went back to the Leagues Club because we used to go back there for presentations and at the Broncos. And I remember Bellyache grabbed me one day and he said to me, Tatey, how'd you feel tonight? I said, Oh, I was okay, mate. He goes, no, I want you to be honest with me, Tatey. Like, talk to me. And I said, Bellyache, I said, I felt like I was a spectator. Like, I literally felt like I was sort of part of the crowd, just watching the game. And then all of a sudden, 65 minutes in, I'd run on. And he goes, okay, mate, no worries. So anyway, he walked off. And next minute, he come back with Wayne and sat down with me. And him and I at the table with Wayne. And I'm thinking, I was shitting myself. And he goes, Tatey, I want you to tell me how you felt about tonight. And I went, I felt good belly. And he goes, no, Tatey. He sort of put his arm on my shoulder. He goes, no, mate, I want you to tell Wayne how you felt. And I sort of said, I felt like a spectator. Anyway, I got named to start in the centres the next week. And I'll never, ever forget, we'd sort of done the session, the captain's run, and it was like sort of where the captains, right at the end of the session where the captains take over and we do our own sets without the coaches there. We lined up for the kickoff. I remember Wayne sort of lumbering over to me and he sort of pointed me into the chest and he goes, Tatey, it's your spot if you want it. And, mate, that was it. I just played in the centres for the rest of my career, and I'll never, ever forget that moment, mate. It was really, really vivid. That's all he said to me was, it's yours if you want it, and then just walked off, and that was it.
That was it? Yeah. Wow.
Well, you mentioned that you started in 2002, so you played on the wing in the round 1 game against the Cowboys that year. So what do you remember about your first game as a starter in first grade?
I probably got, because I had a bit more time to think about it, probably a bit more nervous, and playing on the wing, which I hadn't played a lot of wing. I was always played in a sort of the heart, like 5'8" lock or centre through my sort of juniors. So it was pretty new to me, mate. And anytime I played on the wing, I was always really nervous about catching bombs. I I hated that part of playing on the wing. I hated, mate, when the bombs are gut, mate. In Origin sometimes too, by the way. I literally remember, because I knew they were going to bomb me, I remember sitting there under the ball and my legs would be shaking. I could actually feel the trembling going, fuck, I'm going to, you know, that's how much I hated it. But probably just nerves, mate, about the bomb. But, you know, one of the things I always did is I always worked really hard on trying to, you know, catch and practice and all that sort of stuff. So when it did happen, I was ready to go. But, yeah, so, mate, that first game as a starter was just, I guess, probably a bit more nerves than what it was when I first got named, because I was just so excited, you know. I don't know, when you first got named, there's more excitement than nerves. You just sort of don't really think about it too much. So, yeah, it was good fun though. It was, mate, happened really quickly for me, my whole sort of career, and it was, yeah, mate, it was just such a bloody ride. I loved every minute of it.
Mate, you played the opening 9 games of that season, switching between wing, centre, and the bench. Now, we ask all our guests this question. Do you remember your first NRL try?
I think it was against the Cowboys, actually. Was it round 1? That game against the Cows,
yes.
Yeah, I think I do. I remember hitting the ground. I think they all sort of slid over me. I jumped up and scored. I got a funny feeling at Dairy Farmers,
I think so,
I think that's it, yeah. So,
Do you remember your first double?
No, wouldn't have a clue.
Mate, it was against the Cowboys as well in round 14 of the same year.
Yeah, I was at
Same
that game.
year.
It was at QE2.
QE2.
Yeah,
no way.
That game, yeah.
Actually, I think I got named in the Origin side after that game. I reckon I did. It was it was an afternoon game, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was, It was a Sunday Arvo.
Sunday Arvo, I did. Yeah.
It
was a return game after I broke my thumb, because I broke my thumb, and the Baby Broncos beat the Tigers the week before. I was meant to play in that. When you remember the Baby Broncos that Craig, all the Origin boys were out, and Craig Bellamy was coach.
Who'd forget?
Yeah. So that was my comeback game, actually. So that's right. It's funny when you start talking about how things come back, eh?
Yep, absolutely.
You're exactly right, because that was my next question. Your early season form is that good that you're named on the bench for Origin 3 that year. That must have been an enormous occasion. Tell us about how you found out and your memories of your first Origin game.
Oh, mate, I could talk about this for days. So as I said before, it happened really quickly, and there was a little bit of – I got goosebumps even talking about it, lads. Yeah. I literally have goosebumps. It's nuts.
Is this going to be a pricey moment?
No, I won't be as long as Pricey, I promise. But
be as long as you want.
No, I'd sort of the few weeks before that, my name was getting bandied around on the Sunday Footy Show and all that sort of stuff. That I might have been a chance of making it. Anyway, I come back, played really well in that game, and got a call from Gene Miles telling me that I was in. And mate, at the time at Brisbane, it was a tough culture, mate. Like Gordy and those sort of blokes, mate. They used to rip you all the time and play bloody tricks on you. So I was really, really wary that someone was bullshitting me. But anyway, I went into camp and, mate, I wasn't nervous at all. I was just so excited because, like Pricey would have said, or you would have heard us all talk about it before, like as a young kid growing up in Queensland, mate, like Origin, it is different for us because I don't know how or why, but it's just part of when you're born. It's just in you, and I can't explain it. But I'm like every other person that's ever played or dreamt of playing for the Maroons. Like it was an absolute dream come true, and it happened so quick. So I wasn't, as I said, I wasn't nervous at all. I was just really, really excited. I had a really good week of training at the Origin. I remember, we trained down the Gold Coast, and I scored a try training off Alf. Like he went across and dropped me off, and mate, I just got so much confidence out of that week. Anyway, come game time, obviously all my family are there. We're all bloody, it's just a huge occasion for everyone. And I sat on the bench, and there's 2 or 3 real vivid memories I have when I played. And I explain them as out-of-body experiences. The only way I can explain them. And my debut game for Origin was one of these moments. So I think it was about, it was sort of early into the second half. I get the call from up the top. Wayne goes, Tatey, you're on. So, I think it was Choppy Close comes over and goes, Tatey, you're on, mate. Here's the interchange card. So I got the interchange card. I remember going down to it was at Stadium Australia in Sydney.
Yeah.
I remember handing it to the sideline official, and I'll never ever forget this specific moment. I started to jog to the far side of the field, and I remember everything just went completely quiet. Like, yeah, it was like I was looking down upon myself, and I remember like jogging out, and I remember looking down at my boots. I remember looking at my socks. I remember looking at my shorts and my maroon jersey, and it felt like 5 minutes. And I remember looking up the sort of the field as I was taking my spot, and I remember just seeing that maroon wall and the blue jerseys, coming at him. And as I said, I wasn't nervous at all. But as I was jogging out there, I was like, holy shit, I'm playing Origin footy. It was like, it just hit me right then. And then, mate, it was awesome. Like, we went on to draw the game. I actually dropped the ball, but had a couple of really good runs out of dummy half. And, yeah, we drew that match. Dane Carlaw sort of went around.
Carlaw, right at the end there.
Scored a really good try. Lottie had the kick to
if only you could kick, hey? We would have won.
I know, bloody Lottie. But mate, yeah, like a really, really vivid memory of mine, and that to do it with Pricey there, and like all of my sister and my family and my cousins all up in the stand. It was, mate, it was really, really special. Actually, I got photos of like all of us after the game, like me, Pricey, and all the family all around, and it's just bloody awesome, mate. Like it was, I love playing for Queensland. There's nothing I would, mate, in that jersey, I would have done anything.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you'd played alongside Pricey?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it would have been our first time. So, yeah, playing. Yeah, massively. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and the older I got and the more we played together, the more I enjoyed it. You know, the more I appreciated it, I think. So, yeah, it was good.
Mate, you're also named to make your test debut in the one-off test against Great Britain, coming off the bench in a 64-10 smashing. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah. Again, mate, I've got a couple of. Sorry, boys. I feel like I've got stories for everything, but
that's all right.
Again, my name was sort of getting bandied around. We played a game at QE2 again. We went back to the Broncos Leagues Club to have presentation that afternoon, and we got like it come over the loud PA that I've been named for Australia. So, mate, obviously everyone's coming around, like giving you high five, like Gordy and that are coming up saying, mate, awesome, everyone's sort of pumping your tyres up. And I'll never ever forget Wayne walking over to him, and he put his hand out and he shook my hand, and he shook it like that, and he goes, just remember, it's 4 people's opinion, and just walked off. That's what he said to me. So I just think it was Wayne's way of obviously keeping my feet on the ground because it happened so quickly. Yeah. It was almost Wayne saying, hey, congratulations, but just remember, it's only 4 people's opinion. You still, it was just his way, I guess. That's how I looked at it. But, mate, went home, packed that night, went to Sydney the next morning. We always used to stay at the Coogee. I've walked into the hotel for the very first time, and, mate, there's Steve Menzies, there's Danny Badiris, and in his jocks, blind rotten drunk, he just got back from the cross, was Joey Johns. He was up and down the hallway in his jocks, and he just had a fresh tattoo just here, was the circle, and which said rock and roller. He literally just got it a couple of hours before. So, mate, I'm like walking into the Australian team with Joey Johnson, and I'm like this young 19, 20-year-old going, what the hell's going on here? Like, how good's this going to be? Yeah. So that was my first my first introduction into playing for the Aussie team. But, mate, it was awesome. And a funny story, my under-13s coach, which his name was Trevor Gosling, and his name was Mr. Gosling. He had one leg, Trevor, but we had to call him Mr. Gosling. He was one of my very first coaches that introduced us like respect and training hard and all that sort of stuff. And I'll never, ever forget, mate, when he was 13, he came over to me and he said, you're going to play for Australia one day. And he said, whenever you do, I don't care where it is, I'm going to be there. And I played the game in Sydney, and when I walked off the field, right there in the corner of the stand was Mr. Gosling.
Wow.
So it was bloody awesome, mate. It was so good. He told me and he was there, and it was amazing. Yeah, really good.
Well, the highs of 2002 continued back in clubland because the Broncos go on and qualify for the final series. What was it like playing in your first NRL finals campaign in 02?
Oh, mate, it's a long time ago. Hey, it was just one of the things I always remember is that when you played for Brisbane, you just were expected to win. Like that's just, and every game you sort of went into, you thought you were going to win. You know, whether we did or we didn't, there was always that expectation to win. So, again, mate, probably like really excited more than nervous. But as I got older, then you sort of realise that the pressure that comes with it. Of playing for Brisbane and representing that jersey. So, but mate, more just excitement. Hey, like it was just again, mate. I was a young kid, and it just happened so quickly. I was loving life, and earning good money, and just playing with people that I bloody dreamt of playing with, and getting coached by Wayne. So yeah, it was just, mate, it was awesome. But as I said, like as I got older, you realise footy become a bit less enjoyable when you realise the pressure and expectation that come with playing than when it was when you were young and you first started, because you're just riding the high.
Yeah, you finished the 2002 season with another test cap. This time you were named in the centres to play the Kiwis and a come from behind victory there. What an amazing 12 months of footy, though, for you in 2002.
Yeah, it was, mate. It was incredible. Like, it really was just like – yeah, like I played 9 games, never in my wildest dreams that I ever thought I'd be playing Origin. All of a sudden I'm playing Origin after 13 or 16 games, whatever it was. Next minute I'm playing test footy, and at the end of the year I'm named in the centres to play test footy. So, mate, it was just whirlwind, really. Like it was just it was nuts. So, yeah, just even now when I sit back and think about it, I just think far out. Like I'm pretty proud of myself too to be able to sort of know that I was able to maintain it, because it's really easy to get lost in footy and lose your way, but to be able to do it as long as I did, I'm sort of thinking about it now. I'm like, mate, I do feel really proud about that. Yeah.
So you should be, mate. 2003 is another good one for yourself on the field. You're regular in the Broncos team. You're scoring tries. You played the Anzac Test for the Kangaroos and all 3 Origins for Queensland. Do you remember your first try for the Kangaroos and your first Origin try for Queensland?
No, I don't. That's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we start talking, yeah, go.
Your first try for the Kangaroos was that Anzac Test in 2003.
Yeah.
And your first try in Origin, you actually scored a double in Game 3
at Suncorp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The new Suncorp. Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that one. I can't remember the bloody test one though. That's terrible. Jeez, bloody hell. Anyway,
footage for you.
Now, you know what? It's actually real. I'd love to go back and have a look at all your sort of your tries. And I've never ever done that, but I'd actually like to. I'd actually like to sit my kids down and go, see, your dad wasn't a bloody bum.
There's a lot of stuff. I do a lot of research for when we have guests on. There's a lot of your stuff on YouTube. So
is there? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. All right.
Yeah. So because your kids are probably like my kids, because I was a sports star when I was a junior and what have you. And my kids don't look at me like that. Your kids probably the same. They probably think, what did you do in your life?
Yeah, I dead set they do all the time. So my daughter was there before and she goes, "What are you doing, Dad?" I said, "Oh, I'm talking about my time at the Warriors and my footy career." She goes, "Oh, how boring." I was like, "Oh, thanks, Macy."
Cheers.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of that State of Origin series in 2003, so Game 1 of that 03 series was actually your first as a starter. So how did you find out about how did you find that experience compared to coming off the bench in Origin?
Yeah,
and was it much faster?
Yeah, it wasn't. But like going back to what I said before too is that the first time I played, it was just all the excitement. Then all of a sudden, once you've done it, then all of a sudden you realise what's on the line and the expectation, the pressure that comes with it. Like the more you play, the more you realise what it means to people and how much the pressure there is in and around it. So you go from being really excited to almost you get these nerves because there's the expectation around playing well and winning and all that sort of stuff. So, mate, the first I debuted and had a really good debut. The next sort of couple of years I played 2002, 3, 4. we got our asses handed to us. 2002 we drew the series 3, 4, and 5. We got beaten, and New South Wales were really, really dominant, and I didn't felt like I sort of played real well in those years. And it wasn't until 2006 where I really felt a part of the Origin arena. And even in 2006, I reckon it was the year that Mel took over, and it was a really important year for Queensland. Probably my most favourite year ever playing for Queensland was that year, just because what was on the line. And I know Pricey would have spoken about this as well. But 2000, so we'd been beaten 3 series in a row, 3, 4, 5. In 2006, Mel come in as coach. Mate, we'd forgotten what it meant to play for Queensland. Like, I reckon we lost our way a little bit. And I remember Mel took over, and in 2006, at the start of that year, the preseason, Mel got 50 or 45 potential players that could have played for Queensland that year. And we all met at Royal on the Park in Brisbane on the Botanical Gardens. And I remember Mel got us in this room and pretty much sat us all down and said, I want you to go away. I want you to break up into little groups and come back to me with how you want to be viewed by the Queensland public on and off the field. He said, so go away. Here's a piece of paper, break up into sort of groups of 5 or 6, come back. And, you know, I want you to, he goes, I just want you to write down how you want to be viewed by the Queensland public when you represent Queensland on and off the field. So, you know, we all went away, mate. We all came back, and we come back, you know, with all these words, and all of a sudden we're putting them all up on the board, and we come up with, you know, a set of values and behaviours and pillars that how we wanted to be viewed by the Queensland public. And that meeting there really kicked off what was about to happen over the next 10 years for Queensland. It was such an important meeting, and I'll never, ever forget it. And, you know, it was all player-driven. Obviously, Mel was a genius. He brought in all the old guys like Trevor Gilmeister. He brought Alfie and Kevy and all those guys back to, you know, share their stories about what it meant to play for Queensland, and they did. Like, they got up there, and Mel was really big on the history of Queensland, which he gave us a huge history lesson around where we'd come from, who we are, what we were all about. And mate, we'd lost our way. We'd lost what that meant. So, yeah, 2006 was probably, looking back, one of my most favourite memories. And, again, people were saying that Origin was dead because New South Wales was so dominant, it had lost its appeal. That year also, all our senior players, guys like Petro, Pricey, Lockie, were all told that if we didn't win the series, they'd never, ever play Origin again. So could you imagine Darren Lockyer never playing Origin again over those? Yes. Like, it's just there's just so much riding on the line. Anyway, mate, I remember we got picked. We went to Sydney. We got beaten in the first game. We played really ordinary, but we just got beaten. And I'd had a long injury layoff, and that was my first game back. They sort of threw me straight back into the Origin arena. I wasn't sort of ready. And I felt like I played really ordinary. And when I finished the game, I was really worried about. I was a massive worrier when I played, but I was really stressing I wouldn't be there the second game. I remember we sat on the bus, and Pricey and I sat up the front, where we'd always have your seats on the bus, like, and that's where you sat for the whole camp. And Mal was up there, and Mal was sort of asking us a few questions. He said, "We'll get him, won't we, in the second game, Tatey?" And that was sort of like, I was like, oh, like, I'm going to be in the team. Like, all of a sudden, he just put me at ease straight away. And, mate, we went to Queensland, Suncorp. We smashed them at Suncorp. I think we beat them. Yeah, we did. We smashed them. I think it was 36 or 24-6 or something.
30-6, yeah.
30-6, yeah. I knew it was something like that. Smashed them, was really dominant. Then we went to Melbourne. And this is probably one of my most favourite nights of rugby league of all time. We go to Melbourne. It's obviously it's a game where Lockie scores a winning try, but mate, I'll never forget it. You know, sort of it was on a nice edge the whole way along. They put up a bomb. Eric Growth, I think, or Menzies scores in the corner off a blatant knock on.
Yeah,
and mate, pretty much put the game out of reach. And I remember the wheels had completely fallen off the whole Queensland team. This is where I go into really good leadership, and this is where Darren Lockyer was an absolute genius, mate. So they, you know, even Gus was saying it was a bloody knock on. So I think they'd went 8 or 10 ahead of us. I can't remember. Anyway, I remember going back behind the line, and everyone in the Queensland team was like blowing up the ref, saying, "Yeah, he's a fucking cheat," and, you know, they're cheating. Like, the wheels had just come off. And I'll never, ever forget Lockie being real calm and collected. He goes, boys, everyone come in here. He goes, everyone calm down. There's still time. Just all I want you to do is worry about the next set of 6 and what we're going to do. He said, trust me, there's still time. So you can imagine how much pressure's on Lockie. Like he's thinking, I'm never playing footy again. But, mate, he literally just got everyone in. Like he was screaming at everyone to come in. Not even screaming, just saying, come in. He brought everyone in the group and he just got everyone looking at him. He goes, there's still time. And I remember thinking, mate, you are cracking jokes. We've just been we're beaten. Like we're getting cheated. Like they're cheating. The fucking refs are doing this. Anyway, he just goes, mate, just all I want us to do is have a good set of 6. Like just let's kick off and pin them in the corner. Anyway, we had a really good set of 6. You know, I scored probably one of my favourite tries that I've ever scored off John.
Great Origin tries,
mate.
Absolutely,
yeah. It was just, mate. And Thursday was a bloody genius, mate. Like, and I don't watch too much, but I watch that clip every now and then. It comes up around Origin time, and mate, JT sort of steps inside one of the players. I think it was Luke O'Donnell, fends him, and mate, Jono's running full pelt and throws like a 20-metre cutout to me, mate. Yeah. And it just like I don't miss a beat because it's just the most perfect pass in the world. Mate, lucky enough to bring it around, we score under the post. They kick off, mate. We kick down there, then Lockie bloody scoops that ball up and scores. And mate, just probably one of my most favourite nights of footy. And I think back to that whole moment in the preseason when Mel took over, to us winning that game against all the odds. And mate, the other thing too, you've got to remember, we had no Greg Inglis, Clint Shafosky was fullback. Reece Wesser was on the wing.
Wesser, that's right.
Josh Hannay got pulled from reserve grade, was playing reserve grade.
Cronulla,
mate. I think Carmichael was out. So, mate, there was we had just this patched up team. And
Adam
Moggy, that's right. Moggy played 3 games and made brain, and was unbelievable. So mate, just this ragtag team thrown together. But and mate, that series kicked off obviously the 8 straight wins that we had, and just remember Lockie's leadership. If he hadn't have calmed everyone down and just been as cool, calm, and collected in what was such a pressure situation, we just wouldn't have won. So, mate, goes back to great leadership. Yeah,
that was the Brett Kamali pass, wasn't it?
No, that was 05.
That was 05. Was
that? That was 05. Yeah, it's Matty Bowen. Yeah,
that was Josh Brett Hodgson.
Brett Hodgson threw it. Yeah, Lockie scooped on it.
Scooped it up. Yeah.
Gus Gould just goes, "Oh no,
no!" That's what he did too. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Awesome, brilliant,
mate. Yeah, and like I said, probably one of my most favourite nights playing footy in Origin, mate. It was just awesome, so good.
I'll never forget that night because I'd been living in China for a year, and that was like my first day back in Australia, and I was just like dead set, so keen to watch some footy. And the day I got back was Game 3, Origin 06, and it was just
what a great game to come back.
Never forget it. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was awesome, mate. We had really good success in Melbourne, Queensland. I think obviously because of the Melbourne boys, we had really good support down there. But mate, I always used to love playing in Melbourne. Like it was awesome. Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Who cares about Origin?
Says a New South Wales.
Okay, Tatey. I'm going to take you back to Clubland now, and I'm going to ask you about the 2002-2003 seasons. The Warriors and the Broncos used to have some really good battles. What did you do to Francis Melli? Because, mate, did you date his sister or did you steal his food? Like, what happened there? Because every time
I don't know why you bring that up because I've had to
have. He found it every game.
Mate, I had to have years of therapy because of that. I didn't sleep at night. And you know what the funny thing is, I remember thinking, like when he retired, I remember, because, mate, honestly, I used to hate playing the Warriors. Like it was, mate, sometimes it was almost like terrifying because, like, mate, I remember that, Monty Beetham, Owen Guttenbeil, Logan Swan, Jerry Sisu, mate, there was just a whole host of, like, Ali Lawati, like, they were beasts, mate, and they were scary men, like, and, mate, when I played the Warriors, I made sure I ran extra hard because I knew, mate, if you didn't, you were going to get leveled. But anyway, going back to the Francis Melli, mate, holy moly, I've never been hit so hard by him. He would get me every time.
I know.
And I remember when he retired, I was like, "You beauty! Like, how good's this?" And then we run out, and there's Manu Vadavai. I'm like, "You fucking got to be kidding me! You got to be kidding me!" And mate, he got me a few times too, and it's just so that's why I joined him in the end. I was like, "Nah, bugger this! I'm just going to go and play for him."
Join him.
Far out, yeah. But mate, they like the Warriors back then would always, for some reason, mate, they could be on the bottom of the ladder, play the Broncos, and mate, they would just turn it on. Hey, like there's some games I remember getting beaten by those guys. I was one at QE2 one year, mate. Like it was, I think Ali Lauatiti it was like Michael Jordan playing footy, mate. He was just unbelievable. And once they started, mate, you couldn't stop them. They were just far out. Like, terrifying sometimes, mate. It really was. It was probably the only time as a footy player I'd sort of feel intimidated playing against the Warriors.
Those days were awesome for us, though. I mean,
that's
you
great.
mentioned about the wrestle dazzle. I was at the game at QE2 where Sione Faumuina threw the pass over his head.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the playing basketball.
Yeah. Mate, I remember we played him. Sorry to go back to. Well, I remember when we got a massive Shane Webke and Villasanti got in all blue. We played him. Mate, that was terrifying that day. Like far out. Like Monty and Arwen and like mate, those blokes were just seeing blood, and it was holy. And then you got the Warriors crowd on top of that. Like you're sort of sitting in the stand. You got blokes with tattoos on their face, and it's pissing down rain. It's cold. It's dark. It was just, mate, it was terrifying. Terrifying.
There's footage of that brawl on YouTube if you want to relive that moment as well.
I don't want to relive it, mate. As I said, it's cost me a fortune for therapy the last 20 years. So, yeah.
Well, we'll take you away from the Warriors just for the moment, and we'll talk about what happened after that season. So you missed the Kangaroo Tour at the back end of 2003 due to that neck injury. Can you tell us about that period and the decision to continue playing with the custom neck brace?
Yeah, I can. So, mate, basically what was happening is I kept getting that we call them burners in rugby league. So, basically what it is you've got a whole set of nerves that run out of your neck that control your arm. And every time I would get whiplash and my head would go back, it was crushing those nerves that run out of your neck down your arm. And I kept getting like even like just a little bump like that, and it'd send my whole arm dead. And I played a game over in New Zealand, and Francis Melly leveled me, mate, like proper, got me good. It was a head high, and mate, sent my arm dead for hours. Like I literally went dead for hours. And pretty much all the medical guys were like, okay, you can't play anymore until we get this sorted out. So, mate, went back to Brisbane. I didn't play all the rest of that year, missed the Kangaroo Tour. They thought it just needed time. It had healed, but pretty much I went and got all the tests done. Like they put all the dye through my spine, and, they thought I had, maybe something protruding my spine, pressing and pushing down on the nerves and all that sort of stuff. And, mate, had all these tests. And pretty much they come back and said, mate, that there's actually nothing we can do surgically to help you. It's basically how you're made. Like it's just how you're born. Like you're born with this. And mate, I've got a bloody really long neck. And he basically said, you've got a really long neck and it's really flexible. And every time you get whiplash, you're just crushing the nerves. So they pretty much said you can't keep playing because you're going to lose the feeling in your arm permanently if you keep doing it. And there's a guy from the Tigers, I think it's O'Dwyer, who Simon Dwyer. Yeah, sorry, really sad. Like he broke his, like he snapped that brachial plexus. So that was sort of the situation I was in. So, mate, I'll never ever forget. I went to the surgeon. Wayne actually came with me. We drove from Red Hill to the St Andrews, which is up on Wickham Terrace there. We went and saw the spinal surgeon. He sat me down. He said, basically, Tatey, and Wayne was there. He said, mate, there's nothing we can do. We can't help you. There's nothing we can give you surgery on. You look like, basically, mate, you might have to retire. And, mate, I was 22, and I'd put all my eggs in one basket, mate. Like, playing footy was all I ever wanted to do. And I remember driving back to Red Hill with Wayne in the car, and I remember saying to Wayne, look, Wayne, what am I going to do? And I remember Wayne sort of said, the wise old words from Wayne again. He said, Tatey, if you're a good person with a good work ethic, people are always going to want you in their company. So don't worry about that. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, well, things might be okay. Anyway, mate, had a heap of time off. Physio at the time, his name was Rob Goldbolt at the Broncos. Mate, he spent hours and hours trying to figure out a way to come up with something that could help me. We developed these headgears with big pads on the back. Nothing was sort of working, and I don't even, mate, I can't even remember. We ended up at this. He sort of got this neck brace, Robbie, and he sort of put it around, and we were sort of playing with it. And he goes, "Mate, let's go to this orthopedic place where they make limbs and all that sort of stuff." So we went over to West End in Brisbane, and mate, we took it's called a Philadelphia neck brace, basically. So we took this neck brace over to them, and these guys make prosthetic limbs and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, we're in there, the two guys that own the company, and Rob, and mate, all of a sudden we were just playing with this neck brace, and we're molding it and heating it and putting it on my neck and gluing things on it and throwing that one out. And we'd get it another one and we'd try again. And mate, we come up with the foam pad that pretty much stopped my head from going all the way back, which stopped crushing the nerves in my back that run out of my neck. And mate, he based it on the NASCAR drivers. He saw, if you ever watch NASCAR, they got the sort of the neck brace thing at the back from their helmets. He sort of just had an idea around that, and yeah, went to the orthopedic place, started playing with this bloody neck brace, and all of a sudden, mate, we had the neck brace that I played in, and which gave me another 12 years of my career. So yeah, it was pretty amazing how it sort of all happened. It just sort of happened. I don't know. We were just there one day, and things just happened. So yeah, and we used to sort of. It was a Philadelphia neck brace, and we put more padding on it. We molded it onto my neck, and then we stuck a bit of Velcro over the back of the neck brace over here. So I used to have a bit of Velcro, and I'd literally just strap it down onto a shoulder harness that would run around my chest. And yeah, as I said, it stopped my head from going that last 15% or 20%, which would crush the nerves. And yeah, that's the story. That's how it all come about.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting.
Thank goodness for Robbie, mate. Like, Robbie spent hours and hours with me at that club, like trying to come up with headgears or neck braces, pads, foam things. Like, heaps of things didn't work, but mate, he just kept trying and yeah. In the end, mate, people say, "Oh, did it worry, or did people target or anything?" And mate, in the end, it was just like putting on a pair of boots. That's just what I did. I just chucked the neck brace on, put my boots on, and away I go. Yeah, so it was good.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, to think like the thought must have crossed your mind that you might not ever play again.
Well, mate, without it, I wouldn't have played. Like, I literally, because it was too big of a risk. Like, they literally said, if you keep doing it, you're going to lose. You're going to lose your like use your arms. And yeah, even then, I'm like, well, I want to be able to throw my kids around and play with the kids. So it just wasn't an option. So unless Rob had come up with that and those guys back at the orthopedics, well, mate, I literally would have retired at 22. Like, I just couldn't have played. Yeah, so it was scary at the time. Like, it really was, because again, I'd sort of thrown all my eggs in one basket. It's all I ever wanted to do. But not only sort of scratched the surface. Like, it all happened pretty quickly, and I was on this bloody ride, and I didn't want to get off it. And it was sort of, I guess in a way, you're sort of young and naive. You sort of don't realise the magnitude of it too. You just think, oh, she'll be right, something will happen, and lucky enough it did.
Yeah, mate, it's well, I mean, it worked out well, didn't it? Because 2004, 2005, you hardly missed a game. You had good seasons for the Broncos. The teams make the semis. You bow out in the semi-finals to the Cowboys in 2004 and then the Tigers in 2005. But through that time, you're continually picked for Queensland and the Kangaroo squad. It's amazing, considering like how close you came to it not playing again. It's bizarre.
Yeah, mate, I've never really thought about it, to be honest. I've never really sat down and, thought about it like that. But, like I said before, I think, looking back now, it happened really early. And, you see so many guys where it happens early and then they just fall off the cliff and never play again. But I am really bloody proud of the fact that I was able to do it sort of for all my career. And, mate, but I had really good mentors, obviously, along the way, mate. Like Pricey was a huge part of my career, and someone that was a great mentor, like looking up to someone who trained hard, lived really well off the field. Great example. you know, I come into first grade with a guy called Mick DeVere, who was probably the most disciplined bloke, and I roomed with Mick for the first 4 or 5 years. So, you know, got really good habits and disciplines off Mick. Wayne as coach, Craig Bellamy. You know, I had some really good people, but yeah, I guess when you look at it and you say things like that, mate, it does. Yeah, it sort of blows you away a little bit. It really does. It's you don't ever sort of sit back and reflect much sometimes, but yeah, it's cool too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, 2006 was another massive year. Obviously, we discussed the fantastic Origin series, but the Broncos go all the way to qualify for the grand final against Melbourne. Your first NRL grand final. Can you tell us about the week leading up to the grand final?
Yeah, mate, awesome. Like, beat the Bulldogs again. Probably shouldn't have beat them. I think it was 20-4 at halftime, or 26-4 or something at halftime. Like, that was
Willie Mason.
Mace was walking up the tunnel. I actually didn't hear it, but Mace was like, 40 minutes, boys, and we're in the GF. And I think Webby and Thorny and all the big dogs sort of heard that, and they were like, right, let's get in there, mate. I'll never forget Wayne's speech at halftime, actually, in that game. Because, mate, we were playing really shit. They were all over us. They just dominated us. Like I said, it was 26-4 or 20-something, mate. We're just getting hammered. Anyway, mate, Wayne didn't say anything else in the dressing shed. He just sat us down and goes, like, lads, and I get goosebumps hearing this again. He goes, this is going to be about the true believers. That's all he said. And he repeated it about 5 or 6 times. He goes, this is going to be about the true believers. Like, basically saying, if you don't think you can do it, you're not going to do it. So mate, no, everyone else is writing us off, but all that matters is what's everyone's thinking in this room. And mate, Barrow scored that try after half time. He was playing fullback at the time, I think. And no, Hodjo was, sorry.
Yep.
I kicked the ball to Hodjo and he bloody made a break and passed the ball to Barrow. He scored in the corner with Mace, mate.
Upside down, wasn't he?
Upside down, yeah. Freakish try. And then, mate, after that, we blew him off the park. Like, it was, you know, like guys like Thorny, Webby, and Big Pet, like, they were like, it's just showtime. So, yeah, mate, that speech at halftime, though, like, it was about the true believers, and that was sort of our theme, sort of going into the final series. And mate, we had a really good team at Brisbane. We probably should have won a few more grand finals, to be honest, like that 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Like, we honestly should have, like, we had the team to win it, but we didn't. I don't know for what reason, but Wayne made some big changes in 2005. He got rid of a lot of his support staff, brought in some new guys, which was really needed at the time, and mate, just gave us the belief in the training methods to sort of kick us off again. And 2006 was a huge year, mate. Like, we won the Origin, we won the grand final, and the year before we got beaten by the Kiwis in England for the Tri-Nations. So we played the Tri-Nations final in Sydney. It was that game that went for like 106 minutes or something. Golden point for but one of the, I think is it the longest game in history of rugby league? I think maybe even. I think it might be. It went 100 and something minutes. Anyway, we won that. So mate, it was bloody. Just everything we touched turned to gold, and to be part of all sort of 3 of those sort of things was, I think that was me, Lockie, maybe Barrow that played sort of in all those games. There's 3 or 4 of us. So yeah, mate, it was bloody awesome year, eh? Just an amazing year. And the week of the grand final, mate, was again just the build up, the hype. I remember, you know, we were massive underdogs against the Storm, and I remember Wayne sort of saying we're going to take them on through the middle. Like, he obviously knew our strength was, you know, the Thornies, Pets, you know, the Webbies. Yep. Mate, you know, Barrow was enormous. And he was Clive Churchill. And 2, like, Staggy was, I think Kay played fullback. He played wing and fullback. Hodjo was playing fullback. Barrow would defend in the centres, but played hooker. Staggy would then go out and play centre. Like, mate, Wayne just put together this bloody, again, not a ragtag, but like just sort of it just worked. And we had Shane Perry, who, mate, you know, was a Queensland Cup player playing halves, but was a perfect 4 for Lockie. Like, he had a good kicking game, could steer us around while Lockie just did what he did. So, yeah, mate. And that night when we won the comp, the week after, mate, was so much fun. Like, we didn't wear shoes pretty much for the whole week because Semi thought I lost his shoes. So it was just decided, like, we just no one wore shoes for the week in Brisbane. It was just nuts, mate. Like, it never happened now, but back in those days, it was just so much fun, mate. So much fun. It's good.
Mate, the talking about the grand final, what's it like to score a try in a grand final?
Mate, to be honest, when I played in the grand final, I was really disappointed how I played. Hey, I like looking back now. It's funny as you get older, mate. I wish I had have enjoyed it more. I wish I had allowed myself to enjoy it more. Like just regardless, I didn't play bad by any means, but I always had these like real. I guess I was always my own hardest judge and marker. And I remember walking off the field having a little bit of disappointment about how I played. Like I missed a tackle on Scott Hill when they scored a try in the first. But, again, like this is footy. But for me, it was just a big deal. And, yeah, so – and I remember walking off the field sort of being absolutely ecstatic, but also after some time passed, a little bit disappointed. So – and I think when you're young, you think, oh, there'll be another one. Like I'll get another chance at that. But – you never did. So sometimes when I look back, I just think I wish I had allowed myself to just enjoy it. Like you won it and it was amazing, which it was, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, just after the game, I was sort of a bit disappointed in a way. I should have celebrated a bit more than what I sort of did straight away. But, yeah, mate, footy's a funny thing like that. And I had a real love-hate relationship with footy throughout my career. Like, I loved playing it, but I also hated it just as much at times. So, it's funny when I think about it now.
It's interesting what you say too, because we've spoken to quite a few guys, like Clinton Corpy and even Stacey Jones, who have said that when they make the grand final, they just kind of not granted, but you think it's not going to happen again.
Yeah,
and you go through your career where you don't actually play in one ever again.
Yeah.
Mate,
it's so true, so true.
Yeah. Following the grand final, could you talked about the celebrations afterwards? Could you celebrate real hard because you had the Tri Nations coming up? Like, what is there a protocol in place where they let you party for a certain amount of time and then it's back into training, boys, where we got another bit of footy to play?
No, we had the week, mate. We literally partied for the whole week pretty much, and then sort of we had to go into camp the next week, and so there's a bit of leeway there when you get into camp if you don't sort of nail the first couple of sessions because you're still a little, recovering. But, a bit dusty still. But, no, not really, mate. Like, we partied pretty hard during that week and there was some, some really good fun times. I remember one night actually we were at I can't remember it was not LA's. It was a place in Brisbane across the road from the Victory. Anyway, we went to get in there and the bloke goes, mate, you can't get in. None of you's got shoes on. I remember Shane Perry just throwing his hand over and he had the ring on his finger. He goes, does that get us in? And then the bloke goes, in you go, boys, way you go. Yeah. So we all did. So, yeah, some fun times, mate. They were good. But, yeah, no real protocols back then, mate. You got to remember, too, like it was really professional back then, but nothing like it is now. Like, nothing like now. That's for sure.
Well, mate, everything's on social media now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Like,
so much.
Yeah, and mate, camera phones sort of back then were just starting to come in. Like, you were starting to just get the old picture text, in colour. So that's sort of where it sort of kicked off. But I do feel sorry for the boys that play today, mate. Like it's a different world now, different environment. Still great and still have heaps of fun. But yeah, you just got to be so careful about what they do in everything.
Yep,
absolutely,
100%.
Moving on to 2007, it was a pretty tough season for you. You only managed to play 10 games due to injury, and then you decide to leave Brisbane and sign a 3-year deal with the Warriors. How and why did that come about? And was having Pricey over there a draw card for you?
Yeah, he definitely was. I definitely wouldn't have went to the Warriors if he wasn't there. One of the things I didn't want to do, I didn't want to go to Sydney. I never wanted to live in Sydney. Never had I just never wanted to be there. I just didn't want to live in Sydney. So that was never going to be an option for me.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Mate, I remember at the time at Brisbane, Wayne was sort of playing me on the wing, in the centres, left centre, right centre, left wing, right wing. And I was getting a little bit sick of not plying my trade in one position. I felt like I wanted to be in one position week in and week out and really nail that. And I wasn't getting that at Brisbane. And mate, I'd played a few years too. I was starting to really look for more of a leadership role. And again, we had some great leaders at Brisbane, and I was still a few years away from that because the Berg, Sivana Sievers, the Lockies still had a few years left to play. So The opportunity came up to go over to the Warriors, and a huge move and a huge decision for me because I always wanted to be a one-club player, but had to get my head around that pretty quickly that wasn't going to be the case. So, mate decided to make the move over to Tasman off the back of Pricey being there, and I met the guys at the club, and mate, I was really, really impressed with the club. Like, you know, the way they were run, all the meetings I had with them. They flew my wife over at the time to have a look at the place. Like, they just treated us really well. And you know, I was going to be playing in the centres. They wanted me to be there for a leadership role. So, mate, it just ticked all the boxes, and I just thought, bugger it, I can't imagine going to Sydney, so I'm going to go to New Zealand instead. So, and mate. My time at the Warriors, when I look back at my 3 years at that club, was I absolutely loved playing for the Warriors, mate. Like, I loved playing at Mount Smart. I loved pulling on that jersey. I loved the brotherhood, like I told you guys. And, you know, when I left at the end of 2010, it was a really hard decision for me. Like, mate, if I had been younger, it wouldn't have been a decision to make. Like, I just would have stayed and played there for another few years because I just loved it that much. It was home for us. But I was getting to the back end of my career, and I was, you know, at that time I didn't want to finish and be in New Zealand and have nothing to come home to from a job point of view. I was always sort of looking sort of forward to when I retired, and that was one of the big decisions I had to come home in 2010. But mate, I loved it. I always say to people. Like, I had my son in New Zealand, and mate, he's got a Kiwi passport, which, you know, is really hard for me to deal with sometimes. But I always say he wasn't born in New South Wales, so that's the only way I get my head around it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No.
Yeah, no. So, mate, just an awesome time. Hey, like, the people, the culture, the club. Mate, it was run on a really on a shoestring budget. You know, we had to do everything for ourselves, but just bloody, I just loved it, mate. And, you know, Ivan was a great coach. We had some really good young, like, really good Aussie blokes there that we all became really tight knit and close to because that was your family over in New Zealand. And yeah, mate, just bloody awesome. I loved it, loved the club, and you know, even now I still watch the Warriors and keep an eye on them because mate, they're just when I look back on my time in New Zealand, it's with the fondest of fond memories. It really is.
Pricey told us, Pricey told us an amusing story when he first arrived in New Zealand, where some kids on the hill were asking who he was, and in the end, they pretty much said, "Oh, they wish they had signed Sonny Bill instead of him." Did you have any similar stories, or what were your first impressions of the country and the club?
Oh, mate, the country. I remember we got there, and honestly, when it was our first day there, the sun was out, it rained, it blew a gale, and it sleeted all in like a few hours. And I was like, what the fucking hell have we just got ourselves into? Like, what is this place? Like, honestly, mate,
that would have been summer too, wouldn't it?
Mate, like, it was literally like, mate, it was nuts. Like, I remember just going, what have we got ourselves into here? Like, but mate, like the people of New Zealand, like, mate, I got treated so well when I was there. Like, mate, everyone I met at the coffee shops, people in the street, people at the shops, were just, mate, I just loved it. Like, I genuinely loved it. And mate, I got there a bit early because I'd done my knee at Brisbane the year before, so I went there to go and pick up my rehab and sort of start early, which I did. And yeah, so I did a lot of the training early on by myself at the club when all the guys were on holidays, which was I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but I guess I got to know my way around the place pretty quickly. And yeah, mate, just so many good times there, eh? And you know, guys like Michael Luck, Grant Ravelli, I'm still really good mates with those boys from spending time over there with them. So yeah, that was just good fun.
Yeah, so after 115 games and 41 tries for the Broncos, you make your debut for the Warriors. Do you remember your Warriors club debut? And is it a weird feeling to pull on different colours after so many years at the Broncos?
I can't remember the debut now, mate. Who was it against? Can you guys know?
Yeah, 2008, Melbourne, actually at the same ground that I think you made your debut at. I'm pretty sure.
Was that my first game? Was that the first game against Melbourne?
Yeah, 32 to 18. Lost. It was actually the same ground you made your debut at against Melbourne.
Yeah, because I do. And mate, that was when the salary cap stuff blew up, I think.
That year, yes.
Yeah.
That year, I think it was the salary. Was it that year?
Yeah,
Sure, I can't
2008.
remember.
2008. So you made your debut round 1.
Yeah.
I
do remember that now that you say that. I can remember that game, mate. Yeah, definitely weird pulling on a different jersey, hey? Like, but I felt really proud putting it on. Like, I literally felt proud putting, that jersey on. I really did. So, that's right. It was at Etihad too. Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, it all comes back sometimes,
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
It's funny when
that's
you...
what we're here for, mate. We're here to get those memory juices flowing.
I remember training at and I say I went from Brisbane, which was the most professionally run club I'd ever been to, where everything was done for you. You sort of, you wanted for nothing. Where you went to New Zealand and it was run on a bit of a shoestring budget. You know what I mean? Like you sort of had to fill your own water bottles and this sort of stuff. I was like, mate, what is this? Like, what are we doing? And I remember, training one day, I kept saying, but at the Bronx we do this, but at the Brighton. And I remember Pricey sort of like almost clipping me across the ear and goes, you're not at the fucking Bronx anymore, you're at the Warriors, and there's different ways of doing things. It's not always the right way at Brisbane. I remember sitting back going, like, yeah, no, he's right. Like, this is how we do it here. And yeah, like, this is a good way of doing it. Like, just because it's not done like this at Brisbane doesn't mean it's not good. So yeah, I remember him sort of saying that to me, mate. And then, and then all of a sudden I was like, yep, and just bought straight into what we were doing over there. And mate, I had a few injuries over there. I guess one of my regrets is I didn't get the chance to play probably my best footy over there because I was sort of stopped to start. I did my knee, I broke my jaw.
Yep.
And then, which was really disappointing. But, that's why I was really torn when I left because I felt like I owed the club something, but I was really torn between that and life after footy, I guess. But it's funny how things work out sometimes.
Yeah. Mate, having played at Mount Smart as a visitor, do you remember your first home game at Mount Smart as a Warrior?
I don't remember my first home game, mate, but I genuinely is one of my favourite places to play ever at Mount Smart. Like 8,000 at Mount Smart's like 52,000 at Suncorp. Like, mate, it is. And I used to hate going over there and playing in the cold and the rain. It used to piss me off when I played at the Bronx and that. I'd go over there. And, mate, when I played for the Warriors, the colder and wetter it was, the better. I loved it. Like, it was, mate, just same thing. Yeah.
Just happy place.
Mate, I loved Mount Smart. And one of my favourite nights was the night we played, and it was a blackout against the Roosters in the semi-final. Yeah. Mate, that atmosphere that night is, like, far out, like nothing. Like, talk about being intimidated. Like, if you're the Roosters, you would have been shitting yourself just from the crowd. Like, it was nuts, mate. But
fever pitch,
mate. But I loved, like, one of my favourite places to play was Mount Smart Stadium, without a doubt. I just loved it, mate. There in Suncorp, nothing like it.
Nice. Just so that you know, your first home game was round 2 against the Parramatta Eels, and it was a 30-16 win.
30-16, yep.
We won, didn't we? I scored that day.
You did, yes.
It was the first Warriors try, yes.
It was, yeah. I do remember that, yeah, definitely. No, good, mate. It was good fun, mate. I loved it. It was good, very good.
So that same season, 2008, you've got to wait until round 22 before you get to verse your old club. Do you remember your feelings leading up to and then playing the game against the Broncos in 2008?
Yeah, I really struggled to keep a lid on the emotions of it all, mate, to be honest. It was really tough to keep a lid on it. I probably didn't handle it real well, I reckon, the first sort of couple of times. But, as you get older and you're a bit more mature, you stop worrying about that. And, I felt like you had a point to prove, but sort of, I guess you didn't at all. But, mate, just went out there really wanting to prove a point. And probably not playing the way I wanted to because you just probably tried too hard, in a way. But it was funny going up against you, because obviously I had a lot of great mates and I'd won a comp there, and you sort of knew everyone. But it was such a fierce rivalry between the Bronx and the Warriors. I think they beat us too that night, didn't they?
No, we got up 16-12.
Did we?
16-12 win.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, right. Where was that? Where was that one at? Is it at?
That was at Mount Smart.
Mount Smart.
Yeah. We're always in control. I think the Broncos got a late try to make it sort of a bit closer than.
Was it a day game or a night game?
It was a night game. It was a Saturday night game. I remember it vividly. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Rob remembers every game.
I just got one of those memories where I just remember games.
That's amazing, eh?
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think Michael Witt had a big game that night.
Woody was such a mate. He was a bloody good player, Woody. I thought Woody should have done a lot more than what he did. Like Woody could play. He was a really good player, Woody. I don't know why he sort of didn't go on, but his goal kicking was ridiculous.
Unreal.
Mate,
it was.
He only missed 4 goals all year that year.
Mate, he was a freak. But mate, he could play. I think Woody didn't I think looking back, I don't reckon Woody understood how good Woody could have been. Like I think he just didn't have the self-belief in his own ability. But mate, he could play, Woody. He could play. He was such a bloody good player.
Well, he's going to feature in the next question.
Is he?
Speaking of him, 2008, great year for the club. We make it back to finals footies, and that's where we play the first 8th Melbourne Storm versus Warriors game. And it's historic because it's the first time 8th place has ever beaten first place. And it's famous for that Michael Witt try at the end.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Tell us your memories about that iconic game, mate, and in particular that him standing there with the ball in his hand.
Mate, just again, mate, 2 players obviously that set that try up, Rapati and Manu. Like Manu. If I had to pick an all-time team, Manu would be in my wing all the time because he could score tries and do things that just no one else could do just because of his power and size. Mate, he was a freak. And mate, Jerome was probably one of the most gifted rugby league like natural players I've ever played with. And silky, mate. Like just could do anything. And mate, I remember that game being just like Ivan did a really good coaching us that week. Like he got us right up for it. And made us believe that we could go there and beat them. And it was one of the hardest games it was just a real bloody dogfight, mate. Just a real tough match. And then, those 2 blokes, obviously, when the clutch was needed, 2 better blokes to get the ball in their hands of Manu and Jerome. And then, Woody. I still don't know what the hell he was freaking doing. But anyway.
He was trying to waste time, apparently.
That's right. He was
we had a chat to him. Yeah, we had a chat to him earlier in the year. He said, I'm just trying to waste a few seconds. But
waste a few seconds. Because a few seconds really matters. You idiot. Mate, like an awesome, like that was unbelievable, actually. And, mate, we were all just that pumped. I remember, Nathan Feen was just Feeney was just a grub in the game, just that tough little competitor, just in there bloody everyone, and Lucky, tackling himself to a standstill, mate.
Henderson,
Hendo, mate. Hendo had a great career at the Warriors. Like he was a hell of a player over there, mate. So mate, again, just really good boys, good blokes, fit in with the culture of the Kiwi lads. Sammy Rapira, those sort of boys, just bloody legends, mate. Good players, eh? God, they were good players. So, good day that one for sure. Remember that one.
None of us will ever forget that game. It's always like at least top 1 or 2 of the Warriors games ever. And number 1 or number 2 is the next week. So you mentioned it before, the blackout at Mount Smart with our famous 30-13 victory over the Roosters. As we said, another game etched in Warriors history, and every other guest we've had the pleasure of talking to that played in that game just said it was absolute one of the highlights of their careers playing that game. And I remember watching it on TV, just the atmosphere even came through the TV. What was that night like?
Mate, it was the whole week was nuts because it sold out within like an hour or something like that after beating Melbourne. And mate, it was fever pitch. Like it was the hottest ticket in town. And you sort of felt that for early on in the week. And then they come up with the theme about the blackout and mate, just running out there. Like again, I got goosebumps. Like you sort of run out there and the noise, it just sort of sat you back. And it was literally black. Like it was just all you could see with people's faces. Mate, it was something else. Like we were never losing that game, mate, ever. Like we were never losing that game because it was just the crowd got us home, and it was, mate, that whole week it was almost like a grand final week. Like it really was. Like it was just, media, people at training, it was just like, it was nuts. It was bloody nuts, mate. And it was, yeah, like I said, running out 8,000 at Mount Smart is like I said, 52 at Sung. So, mate, when we had
full house,
30,000, I think they put extra seating and stuff in, mate. It was stupid. It was far out. Yeah, awesome, mate. I wish I could go back to that moment, to be honest, to feel that again, because yeah, that's a feeling like nothing else.
Oh, so good,
mate. An iconic moment in that game is Ruben Wiki, his kickoff return, and he flattened a young Sia Soliola. Yeah, you were one of the first to actually help Sia back up to his feet. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. After he was flattened, I actually watched it again the other day because it's an awesome run. How close were you to the actual collision? And is it true that Ruben was screaming Sparta as he ran that ball back?
Yeah, mate. He screamed something. I remember him screaming as he took the ball up, like, because I kick off and I was sort of running back towards Ruben as he's coming that way, and mate, I remember him yelling I remember him screaming as he took the ball, like it was terrifying, to be honest. Yeah, mate. That collision was far out. Yeah, something else, wasn't it? And I think Ruben helped pick him up too, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, he did.
Ruben sort of stopped him. Yeah,
you were pretty much first one there, and you were stabilising him, and then Ruben's come over to him. Yeah, mate. I do remember vividly, like, Ruben screaming, and I remember running back, just going, "This bloke's nuts! Like, what's this bloke doing?" Like, I've never sort of seen that before. But yeah, mate, it was. But again, mate, I think we all just got lost in the moment that night. Like. Yeah, we did. It was hard not to. Like, mate, we were all 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Like, it was like nothing else. Like, it really was, mate. It was as I said, we were never losing that game that night, ever.
No. Yeah, but when Aiden Kirk scored that intercept try at the end, and then the party was on, like, you just see the crowd all just rise. I remember you and someone else ran past him and
passed him into the crowd. Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, I did. Totally did, mate. Totally did. Yeah, I was again just lost in the moment with it. Just thriving off it.
Oh, man, it was unreal. Again, none of us Warriors fans will ever forget that game. It was just an unreal moment in our history.
Oh, it's good.
However, unfortunately, the next week we come up against a red-hot Manly team, and we go down heavily too. But 2008 is still a very successful season for the club. During that season, a young kid by the name of Sonny Fye debuts in round 2. What was Sonny like to play alongside?
Mate, a beautiful kid, like, just genuinely a beautiful kid. I remember he used to call me Brent Tate all the time. Like, he'd never call me Brent. He'd go, "Hello, Brent Tate. Hello, Brent Tate." Brent Tate, because he was just so respectful, like, to him, I must have been, I hate saying, like, he must have been someone that he looked up to, I guess, in some ways. But, I had a respect for, and "Hello, Brent Tate. Good morning, Brent Tate." And I'd be like, "Sonny, it's Tatey. Like, stop calling." But he was always Brent Tate. "Hello, Brent Tate." And, mate, like, so gifted. Like, literally, it's so easy to say, but was, mate, could have been anything, Sonny. Like, he was physically gifted, could play, wanted to learn, trained hard, did all those things, mate. He was, really, really had the world at his feet, and played really well at the back end of that year, actually. I think he was playing in the centres with us at some stage too, and he was a back rower. But that's how talented and gifted he was. But yeah, mate, just a really beautiful kid, like a beautiful Polynesian boy, that was absolutely gifted and could have been anything. Yeah, really, it really could have been, because he was just trained. He had all the attributes: trained hard, physically gifted. Was a rugby league player, could play footy, and wanted to learn. Really, it was really tough when all that sort of stuff went down. Like, it just, a lot harder than any one of us would have thought.
Yeah, I was going to say the tragedy hits on the 4th of January 2009. And when we had Pricey on, he spoke in great detail and very emotionally about how that period affected him. How was that period for you personally?
Oh, mate, obviously you lose someone like your teammate who you sort of spend every day with, and, again, someone you really enjoy being around and love, because he was such a good young kid, so respectful. You couldn't help but love Sonny. Yeah, mate, I remember going, we all drove out to Bethel's that day to look for him, which was really, really hard and really funny. Like, you remember just staring into the water thinking, oh, you just want to see him pop up. Like, you just want to see him to be able to go and get him. Like, you just remember staring at the water thinking, oh, he's just going to pop up. We'll just get him, But, did Pricey go into detail around, how we had that footy camp and what he wrote on the sheet? Yeah, like, I don't know if anyone's heard the story before, but, a shortened version of it. We had a preseason camp with the Warriors before we broke up at Christmas. We went away. Ivan gave us these sheets, and it's on one of the questions on the sheet. It was like, "What are you going to bring to this season?" I wrote down, I'm going to train hard. I'm going to bring a toughness to the game, or everyone's writing their things down. And Sonny had written something down, crossed it all out, and the only thing he wrote on the whole sheet he put was my spirit. And Ivan spoke about that at his funeral, and one of the other things happened. We had all our photos of all the players up in at the Mount Smart, and that week or that day, or I can't remember, Sonny's had fallen off the was the only one had fallen off and smashed. So yeah, it was just a whole heap of real funny things that happened like that, like him writing that on his form was almost like he knew, and then obviously his picture falling down, and then obviously the turtle. I think did Pricey tell us about the big turtle that turned up? Obviously
when he was talking about that.
Yeah. So, like, I think in the culture that when the ocean takes something, it gives something back, and there was this, this massive turtle. They said it was like nearly the size of a mini or something. It was meant to be massive, like, So, mate, it was just, but a really, like, our season was really bad that year, and I just don't think you can ever underestimate what that did to those boys, especially the Polynesian boys. Like, they take, obviously they're all very spiritual, and they were all really close to Sonny, and mate, it was really tough. It was, and like Pricey obviously took it really bloody hard. I don't know, mate. It was just a really shit time, to be honest. Yeah, it was horrible, really horrible.
Yeah, definitely. And as you touched on, the 2009 season is virtually a write-off because of the tragedy, and as you said, the effect that it had on you players. And you personally suffer a season-ending injury after only playing 3 games against the Broncos as well. So it must have been a tough rehab period, no doubt, as well. Along with what was going on.
It was, mate. I did a lot of that rehab that year by myself too, like, away from the group, which was really, really difficult. Throw in that sort of stuff, and then the team not going well. Me being, I went there with plenty of expectation too, and obviously my season was gone. So, yeah, mate, it was a really tough year. It's funny though, there's always a silver lining. We had, my firstborn obviously in that time, so it gave me a lot of time at home with him to help early on in the piece, which was, I guess, in a way, really nice. But it was a really tough year that year, mate. It was difficult, both personally and for the club. It was just one of those years you just want to write off as an athlete.
The round 2 game of that 2009 season, Stacey Jones returns to the Warriors after 3 seasons away. You got to play with him that day, and he's revered by all Warriors fans. What was it like to play alongside him? Because you played with some great halves during your career.
Yeah, mate, right up there. Literally played 2 games with him, and it was like you could just tell the class that he had. Like, it was a class above. Like, it really was. Like, it was just like, mate, this bloke he's a freak. Like, he's just a class above. He can see things and do things before anyone else can see them, and that's how he was. And I was really disappointed we had an ordinary year that year, because he deserved better than that, Stace. I think for the career that he had, definitely didn't deserve that. So yeah, mate, it was but just what a bloody freakish little player, eh? Like, I scored 2 tries at Manly that day, basically off Stacey going through, and just giving us the ball the way he did. But again, mate, you just had to run and be in the spot, and he'd deliver it. It was just mate, he was up there with the Lockyers and the Joey Johnses, that's for sure. He was, mate, freakish.
Yep.
Yeah, absolute legend. Moving on now to 2010. So you make your return from injury, ready to start that season. You play 24 games that season. However, Pricey struggles with a foot injury that forces him into retirement without playing a game that season. Team aside, that must have been difficult for you to watch him go through that.
Yeah, it was, mate. Obviously, my Pricey played such a huge, like he was so, mate. He carried the Warriors for a few years, like he literally did. You know, like on the back of his performances, like he was, mate. He played some of the best footy over there. Like he really was. The backbone of that team for a long time. And, mate, he really, really struggled that year. And I think the way he finished and sort of exited the Warriors, well, again, he probably deserved to go out in a better way too, I think, mate. I think looking back now, he probably admit he probably didn't handle it real well. The club probably didn't handle it great at the time either. He had that foot injury, which was rude, mate. He tried to come back so hard, and it was just his foot was an absolute mess. So mate, really difficult, and it was difficult for me too because I sort of, I was there to do a job and play, and be a part of the this senior leadership group and make those decisions of be a part of, not make those decisions, but make sure we're on the right track, and then the person I respect and love the most, is told that he wasn't going to be captain. I think that year might have been that year. He wasn't coming back from, he was really struggling with his foot. So it was really difficult. Actually, it was really hard to navigate because obviously I was always been really loyal to Pricey, and he was doing it really tough, and but still had to sort of rock up and play good footy for the Warriors because that was my job too. So it was really difficult to navigate, and had to be there for him and had to do the right thing by the club as well, which was really tough. But, mate, I just looking back now, I think it could have been handled a lot better from all sides. And I think Price did agree with that. And I'm sure I've heard him say that too.
Yeah.
Mate, the team plays finals footy again in 2010. We finished fifth, but we're knocked out in the first week by the Titans after.
Yeah, we were too.
And that ends up being your swan song at the Warriors. How do you look back on your 3 years at the club?
Yeah, mate, with the fond, like I said before, I think I might have said it before, mate, the fondest of fond memories. Like just bloody loved my time there. It was amazing, mate. I love the club. I love the brotherhood. I love the culture. I love living in New Zealand. Like I really enjoyed, the whole scene of, living in Auckland, and mate, we lived at Grey Lynn, which was awesome up the road from Ponsonby, and all the Aussie boys were there that we'd hang out with and drink together at the RSL there at Grey Lynn, and mate, it was just good fun, mate, and good people. So, really disappointed I didn't. It is probably I don't have many regrets, but not playing the best footy I could have played just because of injuries over there. Like I would have really liked to have had a couple more years there and played really well and, won a comp there. That would have been, mate, whatever team wins a comp for the Warriors for the first time, like, man, I envy those blokes because, mate, you're going to have the whole of that nation behind you. And, mate, it would be the greatest thing that ever happened if you're a player. Like, mate, that would be my greatest motivation, to that team there now to say, mate, if you go on and win a comp for the first time at that club, mate, strap yourself in because it'll be like nothing you'll ever experience in your life.
We'll invite you to the party.
Yeah,
I'd love to go. I'd love to go.
And you guys have all been part of it though. All you ex-players have all played your part, like sowing the seeds and that kind of thing. So the day that we do win, I mean, you guys are all just as much a part of it as the current.
Oh yeah, mate, you do. Like you like when you go to a club and you love it and you be a part of it and you throw yourself into it, mate. You do. You always leave a piece of yourself behind there. And yeah, mate. Like honestly, like if they won it, mate, I'd be one of the happiest blokes going around. Like it'd be bloody. I know Michael Luck, talks and loves his time there. Ravsey, Grant Ravelli loves his time there. Whitty, like mate, all us guys. You would never hear any of us say a bad word about that club or not enjoying our time there. Like it was just a real good part of a good time of our lives. Yeah.
Having been coached by arguably the best in the business in Wayne Bennett, how did you find Ivan Cleary as your coach at the Warriors?
Yeah, I loved Ive, mate. I think Ive gave me the real the confidence to be a leader, and I'll never forget one day at training, mate. Again, sort of really vivid memory. We're at training, and yeah, we did this dropout drill, and we dropped it out a few times, and then one of the boys did this short dropout. It was a bit of a soft option. I remember walking past Ivan, going, "Oh, fuck, that was a real soft option." And Ivan grabbed me and goes, "Mate, you need to say it. That's what we've brought you here for." And he goes, "I want you to say it to the group." And I remember sort of going to the group, boys going like, "Fuck, that's just a soft option, boys. Like, let's not do that. Let's just keep backing our defence." And but he gave me the confidence to do that and be a leader. So, mate, I really, really enjoyed Ive's coaching. I thought, and mate, his demeanour really suited the group. Like, he had a really good demeanour with the Kiwi boys and then the Aussie boys, and was really able to bring us all together. And mate, everyone loved him and everyone respected him and everyone played for him. And that's not easy to do at a club like the Warriors, where you got so many cultures and things happening in the background. So, mate, really good coach. Yeah, really, really enjoyed being coached by Ivan, mate. I was really happy that they won the grand final, because he, he'd sort of coached a lot of footy without winning one. So, mate, that monkey's off his back now, so it's good. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, he would have had a lot of pressure on him this year too, after last season.
Mate. Yeah, well, like if they didn't win it this year, again, they talk about the window and it starts to close. And yeah, mate, there's and mate, they won it tough too. Like, what they did, like, mate, they didn't win it on how they're winning all year. Like, they won it from being tough, mate, which I think is even better for those guys. But yeah, mate, I've had a great demeanour with all the playing group, and yeah, mate, I think he's one of the better Warriors coaches that's ever sort of been at that place for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Mate, you signed with the Cowboys for 2011, and I've read in previous interviews that you've given that you said, and you touched on it before, that leaving the Warriors even tougher call than leaving the Broncos. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, mate. It just, as I said, I really felt I owed the place something, because I went over there and I went over there on really good money and big expectation, and whether it's me personally or not, I just felt as though that I didn't sort of deliver on that, because I obviously missed a full season with a knee injury. I got there off the back of a huge knee injury, which took me, sort of 12 months to sort of get over pretty much. I played on one leg that whole first year there. Then the year after I broke my jaw. So, mate, I felt a real connection to the place, and I loved the place. I felt like I owed it something, but, I was really torn between, those sort of feelings and then having these feelings on the other side where, I needed to, sort of get home to secure my future. Yeah, when it post footy. So I was I agonised on it for so long, mate. But in the end, again, I'm glad sort of the way things go and happen, because I don't think I ever would have played for Australia or Queensland Origin or for Australia again if I had stayed at the Warriors, because I had big injuries there, and I think going through rehab there again would have been disaster for me. So to get out of the place, I guess, and have a fresh start, move to the Cowboys was, again, easy to say now, but it's probably the best thing for me at the time. But yeah, mate, really, really tough decision. I agonised over that for freaking weeks. Yeah.
Well, your Cowboys debut doesn't happen until round 19, after unfortunately suffering an ACL injury in the Four Nations final loss to the Kiwis. And the vision of that injury really pulled on the heartstrings of all rugby league fans, because of, what you'd overcome with your injuries in the past. Was there ever a thought in your head that time there enough was enough?
Yeah, mate, definitely. I that's why I think I was so upset in the dressing shed. I just was completely devastated, mate. I'd been through two before. I was moving to the Cowboys again with, huge expectations to come to the place, try and be a part of the change, because they'd come last year before. Gotten back into the Australian team, was playing really well. Like, I had 3 years at the Warriors where it was just a real bloody battle for me, mate. But I'd sort of gotten back to the point where I was playing really well. I'd just turn up, I was scoring tries, I was in the zone. And then it's funny, mate, again, I talk about those real vivid out-of-body experiences. I had one that night. I remember, we got to the ground and I was really uneasy in the dressing room. Like, I felt really rushed for some reason. I don't know why, but I just was really uneasy in the dressing shed before the game. Anyway, I got strapped, got ready to go, mate. I was in really good form too, by the way. So it was a real weird feeling for me. And I remember throughout the anthem, I remember sort of, putting my arms over that and looking up at the Suncorp Stadium, and there was a big crowd there that night. And I remember, again, having this out-of-body experience where I sort of almost floated above myself. And I remember thinking to myself, mate, you really need to enjoy this moment because you're never, ever going to get this again. That's literally what I thought. So it was almost like I knew something was going to happen. Anyway, played the game, halfway through, sort of did my knee, went in at half time. I had no clue that I'd done my knee because it didn't hurt, because when you do it the second time, or there's no nerve endings there because it's all, so it didn't hurt. So the doctor goes, "Oh, mate, you've done your ACL." And I was like, mate, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm still running and playing. Like, and mate, just completely shattered, Like, I was bloody broken, mate. So that's probably the hardest injury I ever took for me to get over that one. And I remember I really wanted to quit and I didn't want to play him, but I wasn't game enough to make the decision myself. I wanted someone to make the decision for me, but no one did. And I remember thinking, I'll ring Peter Parr and Neil Henry, who was the GM of footy and the Cowboys coach at the time. I remember thinking, I'm going to ring them guys, and if I sense one bit of doubt in their voice, well, I'm just going to quit because I'm not going to go and play for a club that doesn't believe in me. So I rang Parry, and he was like, mate, you get here, you'll still have the effect that we want you to have on with the group through your rehab, mate. We still want you here. And I remember hanging the phone up going, fuck, like, I'm going to have to keep playing, Like, he didn't make my decision, but I was like, no, I still got Neil Henry. Like, if the coach don't want me there, I'm quitting. I rang Neil. Neil was exactly the same. And I remember hanging up the phone going, well, that's it. I'm going to have to rehab and come back and play. So it was literally, I wanted someone I was looking for an excuse to pull the pin, and no one made it. Yeah, totally. So anyway, mate, moved up here, played in round 18 against the Tigers. Completely played terrible. Was off the pace. Really struggled the whole back end of that first year I was here because, mate, I was coming back from a third knee reco, and everyone was hitting finals and I was struggling. So remember thinking, mate, starting that next preseason, I thought, right, I'm going to have a really big preseason. Like, I'm going to give myself every single chance to play well. And I thought, if I'm playing how I played at the back end of that season, like if I start off like that and I don't play well, I'm going to quit because I cannot be the player that I'm not going to keep playing. If that's the way it's going to go, like I'm just going to quit. So I thought, right, rip into preseason, have a huge preseason, come back and see how you go. And mate, lucky enough, come back, started playing well. Again, started getting talked about playing Origin again. And then, made the Origin team that year. And yeah, it was just, mate, it's sort of, I probably played some of my best footy at the Cowboys. Played a lot different because I didn't have the speed that I had. I was still sort of quick enough, but didn't have that speed that I had earlier in my career because of the 3 knee recos. But played outside of two absolute geniuses in Thurston and Bowen. And again, talk about just being in the right place at the right time. You just had to be there and they'd get the ball to you, those two boys. So without playing outside of those two guys, I wouldn't have played for Queensland. I wouldn't have played for Australia again. Like, it was genuinely those two that got me back into those teams just by playing off the back of them. It was amazing, incredible. So yeah, it's funny how things work out. If I had stayed at the Warriors, I genuinely don't think I would have went on and played for the Maroons again or played for Australia again. But yeah, come to here, and those two guys were just geniuses to play outside of and made you look good.
Mate, game 2 of the 2014 Origin series, you suffer another ACL injury. Did you know at that point that was it?
Yep. Again, this is the third out-of-body experience that I've had, and that moment was exactly that one, mate. So basically, after 2010, I always knew I was one more big injury away from quitting. I knew that. So, mate, went to the ground that night. Didn't know anything was happening. So I remember taking the ball up. I remember stepping off my right leg, and this time it hurt. And it was the second time I'd done it, but I blew all the cartilage out, so that's why it really hurt. And I knew straight away that that was my knee. And again, I remember the moment where everything went quiet. Everything just went completely still. Like, there's obviously 60, 80,000 people in the stadium, but everything just went quiet. And I remember vividly thinking, shit, I've done my knee. I'm never, ever going to play footy again. And, mate, the way I explained this feeling to my family was, it was almost like instantly someone had let the rope go around my chest, and I was like, thank fuck, that's over. Like, I literally, that's what I said, mate. I felt the pressure and expectation just instantly go. So I was like, shit, I've done my knee. Shit, I'm never playing footy again. And I was like, oh, fuck, like, that's over. Like, I just felt so good in a way, mate, to be honest, because, yeah, I don't know, I just played with that pressure and expectation your whole life, and it was just gone in that one moment. And, yeah, look, mate, I was devastated that I couldn't play again and all that sort of stuff, but there was a huge part of me that there was a lot of relief that it was over and done with too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Love the honesty.
Yeah.
But that's honestly, mate, like, and don't get me wrong, like, I loved it, and I would have played it. Like, I'd planned to play another year then retire, which I missed the Cowboys grand final, which is, you know, I look back with real regret too, because, like, you know, again, that was amazing for the first time up here. But again, I've always been really mindful of saying to myself, mate, be thankful for what you got, what you didn't have. And, you know, as a young kid, if I'd have said you're going to, you know, play for Australia, play Origin, win a grand, mate, you'd take it. I'd take half of that. So, yeah, it was. But mate, honestly, I can never explain that feeling. It was instant relief, mate. It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was nuts, crazy stuff.
Yeah, wow. Well, mate, here's a stat for you. It's really amazing stat, actually. You and the teams that you played for played finals footy in every season of your NRL career except one, obviously the 2009 season at the Warriors. That's remarkable.
Yeah, yep. No, we did, mate. I was, you know, really lucky to be a part of good teams that were always competing, And I went, you know, I was always at good clubs that were managed well, you know, and I think that's always really important. But I was aware of that. Like, I did know that. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And as I said to you before, it's funny. You win a grand final when you're really young and you think you're going to get it again, and it just doesn't come, mate. They're just so hard to come by. Like, it's far out. It's mate. Look back with really fond memories, Like, it was a hell of a ride. It really was.
Well, post rugby league, we've seen you doing your commentary work for Fox Sports. What else are you involved in?
Mate, I worked at the Cowboys in their commercial department for a few years, in sponsorship and corporate, which was really good, really softened the landing for me coming out of footy. Having that connection still was really, really important to life after footy. And mate, I've been one of the lucky ones. I've never missed it. I don't miss it. Loved it, but I just never ever had the inkling to want to go out there and play again. It's just a part of my life that's over, and I don't chase the highs of playing rugby league. I've always had an understanding that you're never ever going to get them, so don't look for them. That higher plane. So again, just been really lucky to do that. I now work for Westfund Health Insurance, which has been a completely different. I've only been there the last 2.5 years. Wanted to get away from football and try the corporate world to do something completely different, and mate, health insurance is completely different. Let me tell you, but it's been it. But it's given me a whole heap of skills that I never thought I'd have or use. But it's been a real eye opener. So still do the commentary for Fox for the Cowboys home games, which is great. Suits me fine, and I'm on the footy committee at the Cowboys too. So still sort of involved in some way, shape, or form, mate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely still involved.
Yeah, which is good. I think that connection is really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, mate, I'm going to ask you some rapid-fire questions that we ask all of our guests while Hammer here scrolls through the comments section for some of our viewer questions. So this is just rapid-fire. First thing that comes to your head. Who is your toughest teammate?
Shane Webke.
Webby. Okay. Who was the best sledger you played with or against?
Sean Berrigan was pretty good.
Right.
Very cheeky, mate. Very cheeky, Barrow. Off the field more than on it, to be honest.
Okay. What about on the field?
Sledger. Oh, jeez. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Wade McKinnon could spray a few. Probably Wade McKinnon. He could spray a few. Bloody hell.
I can believe that. Yeah.
Yep.
Who was the biggest pest?
No, Jimmy Maloney by a country mile. Fuck, world's greatest pest. Holy. What a career he had too. He kicked off.
Unreal. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
He played some great footy for us and
he did.
Took success wherever he went.
He did, mate. But mate, world's greatest pest, Jimmy. Far out.
We have heard it said. I think he might have even nominated himself when we had him on.
Yeah, mate, wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Great fella. Champion bloke, Jimmy. Yeah. Champion.
Who was your toughest opponent?
Mate, in his absolute peak of his powers, Willie Tonga. Mate, I remember playing Willie at the Bulldogs when he was, played for Australia. Mate, he was impossible to tackle. Like, mate, big, strong, had these really late feet. Like, he'd just sort of skip and, mate, he could go either way. Mate, just at his peak of his powers was terrifying to play against, like, as a centre. Like, I remember a couple of games playing him, mate, and literally just grabbing him by the shorts and just hoping that someone would come and grab him because he was just that good. Yeah, he was a very good player.
Him and Francis Melly, of course.
Oh, don't mention him. I want to sleep tonight.
Sorry, mate. Who was the most professional in regards to game preparation?
Oh, Mick DeVere by country mile, mate. Yeah. Mick DeVere's preparation on and off the field was absolute. Yeah, and Cooper Cronk was right up there too. Like, he was meticulous in how he prepared for footy. So, definitely those two guys would be the most meticulous blokes on and off the field with diet, everything, in preparation for games for sure.
Yeah, right. Who was the best trainer?
Best trainer, mate. Sean Berrigan trained hard, Like, Sean Barrow, mate, was always one of the fittest, always trained hard, always partied just as hard, but, mate, he was right up there. Mate, Jonathan Thurston could drink all night on the piss, and I mean drink all night, rock up the training the next morning and beat everyone at training. And a couple of times, there's a story about him at the Cowboys is that he came to, early on in his career, because he was a bit of a rogue, JT, when he was a young kid, but he got to training and he was blind in the morning. Anyway, they were like, all right, let's, they were doing these fitness tests. Anyway, JT jumped on the treadmill, blew him all away on the treadmill. They put him on the rower. He blew him all away on the rower. And then they, went outside and did a run and he blew him away. And he was like, can't get up me. I just won everything.
It's a big deal, guys.
They were like, well, we can't really do anything because he's just literally won everything. Yeah, mate, he trained hard too, JT. He was right up there, mate, for sure.
Trainer, awesome. Who was the team comedian?
Alfie, one of the greatest blokes, funniest blokes I've ever played with. And, just being around. I remember one of my first training sessions, we were all like running across the field, doing warm up and doing leg swings and that. And Alfie was sitting on the back of the on the bench, like on the fence, and he rolled the top of his shorts up and one of the boys goes, "What are you doing, Alf?" He goes, "Just warming up the quads because he's just getting the sun on them." So that was Alf. Didn't warm up. That's how he warmed up. He just rolled the shorts up and warmed his quads up from the sun, he reckons. So, yeah, pretty funny.
Vintage Alfie. Who was the worst trainer?
Lottie DeKiri. Shocking.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Terrible.
Awful. All right, we got some viewer questions, mate. Which winger did you enjoy playing with the most at the Warriors?
Oh, I didn't play on his side, mate. But again, Manu, mate, he was far out. There's just, if I was picking a team tomorrow, he'd be one of the first pick, mate. He'd do and score tries that no one else could do.
Here's one from Sam Revel. He says, a Cowboys question. Do you remember the 7-tackle set semi-final against Cronulla in 2013, and how did you learn of the news?
Yeah, I do remember it. I didn't know at the time, and it wasn't until I got off the field that someone told us they'd scored off the 7 tackles, and there was a huge commotion in the dressing sheds. Mate, actually, when we walked off the field that night, because there was a double header, so we got ready at the SCG. So when we walked off the field, they didn't have security with us or anything, so we actually had to walk through like where the Cronulla people were walking, and mate, we nearly got into a massive blue after the game because the Cronulla people were just spraying us. And Big Jimmy Tarmow, like, mate, nearly come to blows with a couple of them, and then we got in the dressing shed and learned about it. It was, mate, I felt really ripped off that night, to be honest. That was, I've only felt cheated out of a couple of games in my time, but that night I definitely felt that for sure.
Yeah. This one might a little bit of thinking. Who is the top 5 players you like to watch now?
Oh, mate, like just off the top of my head, like I love watching Reece Walsh. I love watching him. Mate, I love watching Nathan Cleary go about his business when he plays. You know, just about the way he controls the game. Mate, at the start of the year, I was loving watching Pappenhausen play. I really enjoyed just watching how he went about his business. Mate, David Fifita, when he's on, I don't think there's, you know, too many better things watching him go about his, you know, about his work when he's just, you know, he's in that mood and he's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Mate, and probably Latrell, to be honest. Yeah, like, again, when Latrell's on, you know, I don't think there's too many players that can do what he does either, you know. Yeah, he's almost unstoppable. Yep.
Who was a favourite teammate to play alongside? Any side that you played in?
Mate, JT and Matty Bowen, like, honestly, those two guys were little geniuses, eh? And when they were on song, mate, it was just so awesome to sit back and literally just, like, obviously play, but just be a fan watching them just like little magicians, like just weaving their magic. It was, mate, when they were on, it was something else. Yeah, those two for sure.
Were you a superstitious guy? Did you have any pre-game rituals or game day routines?
I had game day routine that I stuck to, but I wouldn't have. It wasn't superstition. It was just more routine. You know, you just get up and do the same thing, get ready the same way. You know, that sort of stuff. Had the same strapper who strapped you each week, but again, I think that's more routine than probably superstition. You know, just about getting things done the way you like to get them done.
Go back to the late 90s, mate. If you hadn't have become an NRL player, what career path do you think you would have gone into?
I shudder to think, to be honest, lads. I really do. I honestly don't know. Because, mate, honestly, from the moment I was 7 years old, like, honestly, playing NRL for Queensland, Australia was all I wanted to do. So, yeah, mate, I honestly don't know, because there was just never, ever any other thought than anything else than that.
Who were your rugby league heroes growing up?
Oh, mate, I loved Lockie, and then I got the chance to play with him. Loved Lockie. Pricey was a huge, you know, watching Pricey go through and, you know, being at his grand final when he was 21 and 95, like those moments really spurred you on to do what I did in footy. Yeah, mate, and Wally, King Wally, you know, watching Queensland and Dale Shearer too. But, you know, Rowdy Shearer playing for Queensland was just a genius. So, yeah, they're the sort of guys you really looked up to.
And lastly, who was the biggest influence on your career?
Oh, mate, I'm not going to say, you know, there's a few people, like, mate, Pricey played a huge part of my career. My mum played a huge part, mate, of my career too. Like, you know, just being there for. So Pricey, mum, and my family, mate, they really did. Like my two sisters, you know, my mum and Pricey, and then outside of that, you know, having like guys like Wayne in your corner. You know, good people like that. But, you know, Pricey and my mum, I think, at the end of the day, were the two biggest people that sort of shaped who you are and what you did in footy.
Mate,
just,
Sorry,
I was just going to say, mate, just quickly, mate, there's a lot of comments coming through here. A lot of Warriors fans fondly remembering your time at the club. TK Harris, one of the great fans of the Warriors. I'm sure you would have met him a number of times. Said he met you at a pub in Glen Innes with the Mad Butcher. Said you're a top bloke.
I hope I was behaving myself.
Yeah. And this is really great comment. You mentioned that you said you didn't feel that you played your best footy at the Warriors, but Shan here has said, well, to you it probably feels like you didn't play your best footy, Teddy, but to us fans, you're regarded as one of our best ever centres, just a week in, week out competitor. I think that sums up how we all feel about you, mate. And
oh, thanks, guys. That's awesome to hear. Honestly, it really is, because like I said, it's probably one of my big regrets that I didn't get to finish or play the way I wanted to over there, but it didn't take away the love that I had for the place and, you know, enjoying the Warriors. So I appreciate those kind words. I really do.
Mate, again, like I said, we want to thank you for coming on, having a bit of a chat with us. We're glad that we could stimulate those.
You did.
Yeah. You know, we feel very lucky that we're able to connect with the ex-players and who are integral in shaping the success of the club during their time there. We have a saying here on Ruin Hammer that for those that have played for the Warriors are forever and always, and you, Brent Tate, are forever and always Warrior 137.
Good on you, boys. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, and let's hope that they have a really good season this year. Let's fingers crossed.
Cheers, Tatey. Thanks so much for your time, and we really apprate it, mate.
Cheers, boys.
We'll put the challenge out to you too, mate. The Magic Round next year. We're going to do this year we did a event at the Lord Alfred Hotel. We're going to do another one next season. No doubt you'll get to Magic Round, will you?
Yeah, most probably. Yeah.
Good. Come and join us. Come and join us at the Lord Alfred. We had Mark Tukey come along this year, so we're going to try and get as many ex-Warriors as we can that are Queensland-based to come and have a beer and a chat with some of the fans before the Warriors game.
Mate, please let me know, and mate, we'll try and drag Woody and Ravsey and those sort of blokes along too. That'll be brilliant. I'd love to do that, mate. We'll get a crew together. Yep, be good. Honestly, let me know. We'll sort that out.
We'll work something out for sure, Tatey. Thanks, mate. Yeah.
Thanks again, mate. Thanks for being so candid and honest, and giving us 2 hours of your time. We really appreciate it.
Really.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
cheers, boys.
Bye.
Thanks, boy. Bye.
Oh well.
Mate,
as you said, like the open honesty.
Yeah. Oh, mate, the Kirch said he made a comment early on, basically just said that of all the people we've had on, obviously he works in the media and that, but Tatey just really eloquently speaking, for a guy that we're just throwing questions at him, he answered them well, didn't he?
Oh, so well. Like he put a lot of thought into it and, answered them openly and honestly, and like hearing about those out of body experiences that he had was unreal. And sorry again, Tatey, to bring up Francis Melly all those times, but he was a hitman back in the day. That was a fantastic chat. Not just for Warriors fans, for Broncos fans, Cowboys fans, Queensland State of Origin. It's always great to hear those stories as well about what it's like to play in the biggest stage. Rugby league.
100%,
so.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh, yeah, mate. I pinch myself like every week for the fact that we can, have a chat to some of these guys, and you can see like tonight was really special because you could see that the more we spoke to him, the more stuff that was coming back to him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he was memories. He was getting some really good feels about his career, which is great.
Very, very good. And awesome to hear him speak so fondly about his time at the Warriors. There's often a bit of a misconception that players go over there on a retirement package or, like they don't enjoy their time there. But, I mean, all the guys that we've had, all the Aussies that have gone over and played there have just been glowing with their endorsement of the club and their time at the club and the culture and everything. So awesome to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mate, we've got a bit of Warriors news that we'll go through quickly tonight.
Hit me.
A little bit of post-season news from Warriors and around the league in the past week that we'll get your thoughts on there, Hammer. As announced last week, and they're discussed in our special on Saturday night with Brad Inger from The Standoff, Peter O'Sullivan has vacated his position at the Warriors to take up a recruitment role for the new Dolphins franchise.
Yeah, as you said, mate, we did do a live broadcast on this on Saturday.
Yep.
Discussing all those details, so I won't go into too much depth in what I say here. But basically, what I said the other night, obviously, the opportunity to take on the recruitment role of the new franchise and build a roster from the ground up is, probably the holy grail of recruitment positions. So, you can't really fault him for that. Good luck to Sully. And we thank him for his 3 years of service at the Warriors, and hoping to get him on for a chat in the next couple of weeks too.
That'd be great. Yeah, to hear about what goes on behind the scenes and the like when signing a player. Sean O'Sullivan officially announced as released from the Warriors. We believe he signed a 1-year deal with the Panthers.
Yes. That was announced yesterday that he'd signed 1-year deal with the Panthers. Interesting one, this one. It's probably obvious that Sean will probably end up with his dad at the Dolphins. Going to the Panthers for 1 year, it's a good move for both, I think. Cleary's going to be out for the first part of the season, so Shawnee will probably get an opportunity early. And then during Origin, he'll be there as backup for Cleary and Luai. Now that the Panthers don't have Matt Burton, who's gone to the Bulldogs, and the Snail, who was given the flick today. So, I think it's. I would have rather him stayed at the Warriors for 12 months.
Yep.
But it is what it is, and we wish Shawnee good luck as well.
Absolutely. November 1 is here, and the silly season rumours have begun, well and truly. It's amazing that so many posters on the Warriors' social media pages couldn't understand why Joey Manu wasn't announced as a club signing like at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. This is going to be something that plays out for a while, obviously. Players aren't going to make huge decisions the very second that the window opens. And it will something will have to play out. And to be honest, I don't think that Joey Manu leaves the Roosters. The other guys, Niokore and Metcalf, probably stronger possibilities.
You and I had a discussion about day around Joey Manu particularly, and I said to you, unless he is truly homesick and wants to get back to a life in New Zealand, he really doesn't have a reason to sign with the Warriors. I know they've offered him $1 million, and the Roosters have offered him $850,000. But the Roosters are almost certain of playing finals footy. Good chance of challenging for a title. The Warriors are yet to prove that. So for me, I think the Roosters is a safe bet for him. Niokore and Metcalf, reports are saying that Niokore wants to come home. For those that don't realise, Marata Niokore was in our 20 system a couple of years back before he went to the Eels. Have heard that he's homesick. He wants to get home. So, and they're saying that that's pretty much a done deal. And then Luke Metcalf, haven't really heard too much in regards to Metcalf, except the fact that the Warriors are chasing him for 2023. But they're hoping that if he signs for 2023, he'll ask for a release for 2022. But for me, either. I still think we need to be looking at a 9, and whether Metcalf is brought in as a 9. But there's some quality 9s that are going around. Josh Hodgson still hasn't signed with the Tigers. Arpi Coruscant's looking for an out at Penrith. And of course the Cheese, everyone knows that,
we should sign him.
We should. Speaking of people who we should sign, Tyrone May has had his contract terminated for his social media posts after the grand final. Painted himself as a victim, pretty much showed he has no remorse whatsoever for what he did. Probably the most disappointing, there's two disappointing things for me. One is that the Panthers did nothing about it at the time of the incident or at the time of the court case, but now they stand him down after a social media post. That looks kind of weak. And the second thing is, people, please, on the social media sites, stop suggesting that we should sign him now.
But he's a player that doesn't have a club. Surely we sign him.
We do not need Tyrone May. Please.
I don't think he quite passes the no dickhead policy.
No.
Somehow, with that completely tone deaf post.
And then the last thing newsworthy is the NRL draw will be officially released on Friday morning at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So that'll be 10 a.m. your time, mate.
10 a.m., yep.
And 1 o'clock in New Zealand. So apparently the first round has been leaked with the Warriors playing the Dragons on the Friday night at 6 p.m., of course, at Moreton Daily Stadium at Redcliffe. So that's one we can lock into our diaries now. And as you said, mate, I'm not familiar with the whole Brisbane, Queensland setup at the moment, but you're saying that, getting from Brisbane City to Redcliffe at 6 o'clock on a Friday is pretty easy.
Oh, mate, I'll be doing a half day at work that day. Let's just say that much, just to make sure that we beat all the traffic going to the Sunshine Coast on Friday afternoon is shocking. It's shocking at the best of times, really. Because
I reckon I'll be carpooling it to that game with you.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I reckon I'll be living Queensland side by then.
You will be. Hot tip. It's on in Southeast Queensland for 2022.
Yeah. Hammer's moving north.
All right. Well, we do have some upcoming live chats and some great live chats, awesome live chats actually coming up. Yeah. As we said, the draw release, we're going to be doing our 2022 draw preview next Wednesday night, 10th of November.
Yeah, we're going to have a couple of special guests on with us. We're going to have Sam Revell. He's going to jump on with us and do a bit of a chat about that. And we're trying to get also line up Brad and Richie from the standoff as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it'd be good to go through that. The key matchups, all the 6 o'clock games on Friday, all the 3 o'clock games on Saturday. Our one Channel 9 game for the year.
Yep.
That usual stuff. Yeah. The week after that, 17th of November, we've got the merchandise himself, Jack Murchie, coming on for a chat. It'd be great to hear from him. He'll know. I heard he's might be in still in New South Wales at the moment, but he'll obviously be looking for a big off season to state his claim. Obviously, he being off contract at the end of the year as well. So it'd be great to hear from him about everything that he went through in 2020, 21, and also being one of the, as we always say, one of the Warriors that's never played at Mount Smart Stadium.
No. So, he's a player that has never played a home game at a stadium for the club.
Sorry. Yes, even his 3 games for Canberra were all away games as well. So he's never played an actual home game for any club.
No.
So plenty more to be announced as we lock in some dates, including an exclusive live chat, hopefully with Ivan Cleary, Ali Lauatiti, and Robbie Mears. So those are some names to watch out for.
Yep, coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're definitely excited for all of those. And where is it? Ruin Hammer. We're now on Patreon, mate.
We are.
Just a reminder that, we're on Patreon, which is a membership platform that enables people to show their support for us and our content by signing up for a monthly subscription. Patreon supports multiple tier levels to suit all budgets, and each tier will have its own rewards and benefits. And for now, we've got our bronze tier up and running.
Yeah, that's right. And you can head to our Patreon page. The link is there at the bottom of the screen to show your support and subscribe to our bronze tier, which is set at the lowest amount possible. That's $3 a month, which is next to nothing. And we have also partnered with Torius Screen Print to produce a range of merchandise, as which will be available soon. And we will have exclusive Patreon-only merchandise for our silver, gold, platinum, and diamond level Patreon tiers in the coming weeks that we're just working through. And the exclusive Patreon merchandise will not be for sale and will only be available to our Patreon subscribers.
Yep. And as always, we want to give a shout out to our bronze tier Patreon subscribers so far. Daniel Delore, Peregrine Falconer, Sean Kurzweil, The Kirch, Nick McKercher, Mary Carter, Fabian Moroa, Siala Afamasanga. I saw Siala's back on social media. He was logged in tonight. Good to see him back. Our good mate Stevie Williams, Christian Catley, Alf Tuolave, our good man TK Harris in New Zealand, Ted Clark, Ina Mete, Lisa Marie Bateman, and Ken Wills. We thank you all so much, and we genuinely appreciate your support.
Yeah, you guys are all legends. Thank you so much, and it goes a long way to helping us with some of the costs that we have for running the show, just with our licenses for streaming and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Don't forget, if you do miss any of our live shows, you can catch up on our Facebook page by going to the video section, or you can go to the YouTube channel and catch up there. The easiest way to find our videos is to head to our Linktree, which has the direct links to each of our live guests, interviews, special presentations. Just on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel so you'll never miss any of our streamed content that we have on there, and also other chats, previous player chats that we'll be uploading. It doesn't cost a thing, so get in there, get keen.
Exactly. Don't forget to remember to subscribe. And if you're a podcast fan, you can catch all our episodes on our podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, Radio Direct, iHeartRadio. Make sure you subscribe to us there as well. We upload all the episodes overnight, Wednesday night going into Thursday morning, so they're ready to listen to Thursday morning. And don't forget, please head to our Instagram page where we upload content daily to keep our followers informed of upcoming events, news, player movements, all other Warriors-related content. At the moment, we're going through just doing a bit of a Warriors Legends series where we're doing a little blurb about some of the guys that have helped shape the club, starting with our 95 Warriors and also our women's Warriors players. So keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, cheers, Stevie. We're looking forward to catching up with some beers too. Thanks for all your comments, and good to see your Lakers are finally getting some wins, eh? My Heat looking very strong though as well. So
yeah, they are.
Yeah. Well, that's it for another great show, and we can't thank our guest, Warrior 137 Brent Tate, enough for coming on for a chat tonight, giving us 2 hours of his time. And we want to thank all of you guys who stayed for the chat, for the comments, particularly you guys in NZ, it's a late one for you, and we really do appreciate you guys, especially TK and the likes, always staying up and supporting us, and we love you guys.
Mark Roberts as well,
and Mark Roberts, sorry. Yeah. And all you other guys in NZ that I have missed, sorry. And then, we just want to thank you for your continued support for Ruin Hammer, and it really is very much appreciated.
Absolutely, it is. Appreciate the support. Hope everyone stays safe. Look out for the draw being released on Friday. There'll be a lot of talking points. See you all next week.
Cheers, guys. Go to the Warriors.